start this like 20 minutes ago or whatever. I was having problems with my printer, so now I couldn't even print out my stuff. And this podcast has been pushed back so many times as well. Window cap George again. Hey, typical guy. Hey, Alia.
The problem that I've got is that every time I go to mute it, I end up muting my mic, and then it resets it to default for literally no reason.
What's that?
My mic.
What are you talking about?
My mic always, like, it defaults to, like, the inbuilt one.
Okay, I think I've got George back on the screen. As if that had to happen, like, as soon as I start the bloody podcast.
It was exactly after you started.
I load it up, and then suddenly George has disappeared into a tiny little dot on the screen. I can't get him back.
Magical. It's magic.
Alright, so hopefully you guys can still see me and George.
Oh, and the flickering on my
Right,
side
okay.
is intentional, by the way. Before you go on about how...
I've just got to do all the setting up of the stream, and then we'll
Should
get
be
going.
nice. Should be.
Because all my tags at Fortnite fashion shows, and I'll just leave it as it is. So everyone can
Yeah,
really
I just...
that would be quite funny, to be fair. Double check it, George. Just double check if you can see yourself. Because I remember what happened yesterday when I asked you to double check. You didn't double check, then no one could hear for the whole stream.
I don't know, bro. You think I'm some sort of genius?
You gotta do is click on my stream, bro.
Yeah, but if I do that, everything might die. You know how, like, precarious my goddamn setup is.
We talk about Spider-Man 2. For the 8th. In the shed, roof shed. The shed cast.
So, normally I'd, like, tie it back. But because I, like, about a couple of weeks ago I shaved this bit of it, like, I quite like having this part out. Ba-da-ba-ba-da. How are you all doing, chat? This is my time to interact with you while Shed's absolutely buggering with the setup.
I'm doing tags.
Oh, yeah, I didn't bother. I don't bother for the podcast. It's going to make no difference.
I don't know.
I suppose. Please stop whistling, though.
It's not me, George. It's the owls.
I could see you whistling, you little pissant.
Have you checked whether you're on my screen or not?
Of course not. What do you think I am? Some sort of gopher? I'm checking now.
I'm sort of wizard.
Look at some sort of technical wizard.
Okay,
All I can see is that you put everything known to man on screen.
What's the point, mate?
Alright,
Alright, can you see yourself now?
I
Right,
just see
I
the
can read. That's good. That's perfect.
Okay, I can see me. Okay, cool.
Should be able to see it now. We should be good.
Yes.
So, welcome back to another podcast, Professional Streamers.
We've really got to stop calling ourselves that.
Today-
They're gonna clock on that we're not actually professional streamers.
Yeah, clock on eventually. Hang on, does my video go off? I hope not.
Oh no.
Yeah, so we are professional streamers, so we should get going. Oh, it's a podcast. Yes, that's what it's called. The Shedcast. You're in the shed with Shed.
The shit kiss.
No, this is actually my head.
Welcome
We just
to
call it the
shit kiss.
Shedcast.
Welcome to this shit kiss.
So today, we're talking about one of my favourite movies as a kid. And in my opinion, probably the best superhero movie of the 2000s, I'd say. By far. What do you reckon, George? What are your thoughts on it?
I forgot about it for a long period of time, to be honest. But
I've never
yeah.
forgot this movie because it's always had a place in my heart, man. I was literally the Spider-Man kid. Spider-Man bedsheet, Spider-Man curtains, Spider-Man sticker books. I remember it very vividly. And it definitely holds up today compared to like movies like the Incredible, like the Hulk.
Oh,
The Hulk movie.
The
If you
Hulk
go
was
back and
such a
watch that,
bad
because
movie.
it's in a comic book style. Have you seen the CGI? They just zoom in on like a sticker. Like, this one actually holds up. Like I can still watch it. And I never get bored of it. So I just wanted to.
Well, the
discuss
reason
that
why the
first. I
Hulk is
think
like
it's
that,
a
right, is because that
solid
was
film.
one of the very like early comic book films. They were trying to get a setting on the style, right?
And plus, like, it's just like everything about it. It's like the perfect superhero film, especially the train scene. Like, it has so many iconic scenes and so many iconic quotes and stuff. And back then, what was this, like 2002, 2003? Around that time.
2004 is when it was released.
If you go back to that time, what did we have? We had X-Men.
Matrix.
And we had
the
Hulk,
Matrix
really.
had been released the year before.
The Matrix and Deadpool. And that's really all that we had. So, in that set of movies, this definitely holds up today. I think what it is, I think it's the gritty nature of the film. You know, like how dark it is and how realistic it is. Like,
do you know why that is?
When he gets injured, his suit tears. You never see that in superhero movies. They always have this like polished superhero suit. Like,
you know
if they
why
get
it's
shot,
dark,
suddenly
right?
the bullet damage is gone. You see these like vigorous tears, like huge tears across his suit, and that's exactly how it would be. You know what I mean?
The reason why is because Sam Raimi was a horror director before he went into other directing, right? So he's got like that backup of realistic, but on a.
I think he's a really good director, but I think Spider-Man 3 has definitely tarnished his image. But he's coming back for Doctor Strange, so it's going to be good. Also, Doctor Strange was actually teased in this movie.
Yeah, they mentioned his name.
And also Doctor Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned Doctor Strange's name, yeah, but also Doctor Mysterio was also teased because you know the guy in the theatre was actually supposed to be Doctor Mysterio in a future film.
Really?
I don't know if you knew that, George. It's kind of weird how everything comes back on itself because Jake Gyllenhaal almost took the part of Spider-Man and replaced him in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Sam Raimi is going to direct Doctor Strange 2, which I think is also going to bring Spider-Man in. And he last referenced Doctor Strange in this movie. Like, it's so weird how that works out. And then Tobey Maguire should be coming back as Spider-Man 3, I think.
You make it sound like it's not like back then they were already planning on making a multiverse. You could tell early doors that they had their sights set on a huge connected.
I don't think so, George, because Sony is different to Marvel. Marvel wasn't even the thing then. Disney hadn't even bought the rights back then, I don't think. So, and Sony only owned so many characters. Really, they shouldn't have even been able to use Doctor Strange's name.
You can definitely use names, I think. Like, that's not part of a copy.
But yeah, I don't think there was any intention back then. Maybe. I mean, Sony, if you think about it, Sony in those days was the big players.
Mm-hmm.
It was Sony and it was 20th Century Fox with the X-Men.
And
X-Men
MGM.
was kidding it.
That was like the three main.
So if Sony went to Marvel back then and said, "Oh, can we use Doctor Strange?" I probably would have been able to. But the reason that Sony got their hands on Spider-Man was because, obviously, Stan Lee sold the rights, didn't he? When Marvel was going broke. So
but even
Sony
then,
acquired it and they've made their money. They've made their money from it. Just Spider-Man, they've made like $8 billion or something. They've made a crazy amount of money.
Can we just talk about how bad the Amazing Spider-Man is? That entire series is atrocious.
Well, we'll get to that, George.
I know, I've written
the thing
it down
is, I
as
quite
well.
like that as well.
I like the first one.
I quite like it.
The first one was okay.
Some
Andrew Garfield is not a decent Spider-Man.
And I think he's a good actor, but I think he's kind of too. He's too cool. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I like it. I can't really bash it. I'm such like a big Spider-Man fan that I really enjoyed the films. What I didn't like about number 2 is I think they went for too much happening again. Like there was 2 villains rather than one, and the 2 villains didn't even mix together, so it didn't really make much sense.
Just a guy.
Like, they wasn't really on screen together. Well, yeah, technically 3 villains then.
Yeah.
Which is what they always do in the third film. They always mess it up, so I'm quite worried about this new one coming out.
Should be fine.
But what I didn't like about The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is when they killed Gwen as well. for a kid's film to kill Gwen like that,
Just
like that
snapped
was
her
quite
bloody
horrific to watch
spine,
that
wasn't
like
it? I just remember her like bouncing and
literally. I was going to discuss this later, but Tobey Maguire, and every time someone falls off a building, he grabs them with his web.
and they would die.
Are you telling me?
In
Are
real
you
life,
telling
they'd
me that
die.
Tom Holland couldn't swing down and scoop her up like Tobey Maguire did with Aunt May and Mary Jane in these films?
Well, if we talk about
Like, he
realistic
just swings
physics,
the web. Like he's
realistic
in-
physics,
like, in
their
reality,
spines
yeah, but
would be
we're talking
snapped
about
in every
comic
time.
films.
Even when you see Batman
But
catching
therefore,
someone,
George,
when you see Superman
but
catching
therefore,
someone,
you
then
should-
you go, they always should be like snapped in half, bro.
So, therefore, George, you should actually prefer that series then, because you're saying, "Oh, I like the fact that they slap someone in."
Oh
half."
yeah, no, I do. I like that. That was so realistic, but I just don't like the way that Andrew Garfield
Yeah,
plays
but for
Spider-Man.
like a 15-year-old.
You would like, wasn't it because
I-
there was
I
too
like
much like
Spider-Man.
spring in the thing, and then just suddenly hit the floor or whatever it was? She didn't like have spine
I
injury.
like
She hit the
Spider-Man. The
floor.
Amazing Spider-Man 1 as well. The Amazing Spider-Man 1 was solid.
Yeah, I like that one as well. That was the only one I liked.
They did the lizard really well. I think also in this film, correct me if I'm wrong, you only watched this like an hour ago, didn't you? So, the professor,
Mm-hmm.
he had one arm missing, didn't he? Would that also be a foreshadowing a lizard? In one of the scenes, he has one arm. I don't know whether it's just like you can't see his arm properly and it's like folded like that, but it looks like he has one arm missing. I might be wrong.
You're definitely
But
wrong.
that
He
just
always
caught my
has
eye.
two arms. And before we get actually into like the breakdown of the goddamn movie, let's talk
Whenever you-
about.
whenever
Wait,
you're
wait,
about
wait,
to
wait,
say
wait, wait,
that
wait,
in
wait,
any
wait,
other
wait,
context,
wait, wait, wait,
He
wait.
definitely has two arms.
Listen, that man is not a one-armed bandit. Second of all, why the hell would you make this sun-looking thing and be like, I know, why don't I put some arms on me? Bro, what are you playing at? Just bloody make a goddamn robot arm.
I think
Make
what it
a
is,
thing
George,
from
is
Iron
he's
Man.
trying to
You
make-
don't
he's
need
trying
to
to
like
make,
put a
like-
goddamn thing in your back
He-
and
he's
go.
trying to make-
You know, it's like
He's trying to make renewable energy.
Yeah,
I don't know why the arms
yes.
are there.
Why
I mean, I
the
guess if you
arms?
think about it, it's making the arms so that he can touch. Is it like gamma radiation or something? It's some kind of radiation that you can't
But
touch
you
with human hands.
don't
So he's made these
need to
mechanical arms.
attach it to you. If it, like he's like, oh, using my brain power. Yeah, sure. Goddamn, make it Wi-Fi.
The thing is,
Wi-Fi
they don't-
enable that
they don't really-
motherfucker.
They don't really explain it, do they? Like what he's
No,
actually doing. They just say,
no.
"Oh, it's my dream," and then suddenly he's building this thing, and he's got like loads of tentacles. But can I just say the CG on those tentacles for a film that was made in the 2000s?
Do you know why it's so good? Oh, I was gonna go into it
Really
later.
good.
Majority of them are puppets. They're
We'll
actually
go
there.
into it later. We will go into it later.
Mhm.
Well, let's follow my script anyway, because I spent a long time writing this.
Man's wrote a script.
Okay, so I also wanted to do earlier, like, who's the best Spider-Man? Who's the best Aunt May?
I've already written
Who's
it.
the best villain?
I've got it.
That's gonna be good. I'm not gonna put it on screen now because we can't be bothered. But
No.
we don't have the budget for it. Have you seen the look of our podcast? We ain't got the budget, mate. We
Hey,
asked
mine
them,
looks,
we rung
mine
the head office
looks,
to say, "Can we have
mine
the budget?"
looks swish. Mine looks sleek and polished.
God, you have one thing on the
Yours
screen.
looks like someone's thrown a packet full of Spider-Man cards, and you've just seen. Oh, this is. Here we go.
To be honest, I have actually gone back and bought some Spider-Man stickers, and I've been filling in my old sticker book from like when I was 10.
I'm gonna
That's
do.
how boring lockdown's got for me.
So for like
To be honest,
my
though,
plans.
it'd be really good. Was it you saying sticker bombs?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do it to a briefcase. I'm gonna do
No, I could
comic
take
book
those
sticker bombs.
stickers. And I could literally put loads of Spider-Man stickers on it.
hmm
Okay, so I've got written down. Why was Spider-Man 2 the greatest superhero movie of the 2000s?
It just was.
So
Next
firstly,
question.
I wrote down. No, John, we can't do it like that. We have to go into it.
Oh, okay.
Well, firstly, it was a sequel. Now, name another instance where the sequel is better than the first one. This is, in my opinion, this is definitely the best out of the trilogy. Number one is really, really good, and it does hold a place in my heart. Like, it's up there.
The new
But like
Spider-Man,
this one,
I
is
think
so perfect.
the new one for me is better, especially with the like
Which one?
whatever the new
Tom Holland
new
is a
Spider-Man.
really good Spider-Man.
But
Tom
like
Holland is
I'm
a
on
really
about
good
the second film. The second film of that franchise is still really great.
Yeah, I like that one as well. Like, I
Mhm.
really like that film. I like all the Spider-Man, so I can't really. I was gonna write why it's the best superhero movie or why it's the best Spider-Man, but I think you can't really judge it against those films because this was made in a very different age. I say that there's only like 15, 20 year difference.
That makes a huge difference
still,
in technological advancements.
In the 2000s, like even the suit, like how bold is that suit? That's probably one of the best suits, one of the best superhero suits I've ever seen. Like I don't know how to explain it. You know the black, the silver latex and the black latex on the front of the suit. It's just so
good color designs,
eye catching.
Yeah, it's good design.
Like looking at a comic book. You know what I mean? and then I went on to say like I was discussing other sequels and think about like 40.
I hated Dark Age. I mean? There was that Dark Ether or whatever it was. Or was that free?
Oh, Ether.
That was a bad film.
Bad it was a Dark World.
Yeah, Dark World. That was atrocious. Actually, I'm saying that it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as good as.
Oh, Leighton donated. Thank you, Leighton Edwards. Tom Holland Spider-Man drunk Liam is the best thing. Thanks, bro. Where was you during the charity stream, man? Was you?
Where was you?
Gotta help us get that £17 up. We rate. Alright, so that's what I'm saying. Like most people always agree that the first one's better. Do you agree with me that this is better than the first? What is your opinion?
Well, they definitely had some advancements in technology. I mean, I say that, but like the first one. I'm
talking about like in terms of story.
Yeah, no. Let me just finish.
Really, really solid.
They went straight from one.
Perfect.
They went straight from filming the first one to filming the second one. There was like a week between them, and that meant that they could like cohesively fit those two together. And then there was I think a couple of months between that and the third one, and the third one is atrocious.
Even the posters, man, like the Spider-Man posters during the 2000s. Wow, they were just amazing. Spider-Man 1, he was like climbing vertically down a building, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And then what was this poster?
It was either him swinging or him split in half with his face on the other half.
Yeah, it was swinging. It was swinging a web, but it just looked incredible, man. Like the lighting and everything on the posters got me hyped up. I don't really do posters like that anymore. It's completely changed.
The way they do them now is they put all the characters on, and then they slowly fade into each other.
And then they had loads and loads of special effects on the posters.
Oh yeah.
This didn't really have many. It looked like it was literally just like
a picture they'd taken in Photoshop.
Mainly a photo shoot and put on the back of a building, but to make it look so good. You're talking 15 years ago with that technology as well. That's what I'm saying. Even the graphic design stuff is just incredible. And then I went on to say, it's really hard to capture the magic of the first one because originals, people always agree that those are the best. You know what I'm saying? And then I put the suit is so bold. We've already discussed this, but it's a very advanced movie costume and it still holds up today. I'll put that in the realm of like Henry Cavill's Superman costume.
Yeah.
Like look and feel like that kind of style. And
it looks like it could be made, whereas the new Spider-Man doesn't.
Also has its own good qualities to it, and so does Tom Holland. So, I mean, they're all good costumes, but this one is just like, especially for back then, I think it was brilliant. And then I put Dr. Octopus is a very believable villain in this film, I think.
You say that, but let's talk about him strapping some bloody arms to him for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, he's obviously a scientist. It's got a bit wrong. He's not fully in control of his mind. That's what I'm saying. It's believable because he's not in control. And at the end of the movie, and parts of the movie in between, you see his real character. When he's talking to Peter, he's discussing the poetry and stuff. You realise that's not really him. He just wants to do something good, to advance science. You know what I mean? He also says, there's a couple of quotes in there. I think he says, not with great purpose, great sponsor. I've got it written down somewhere. Oh yeah, he says he once. He speaks to Peter about intelligence, and he says it's a gift to be used for the good of mankind.
It's a gift, not a privilege.
In the start of the film, you see that he's actually a good guy, and you see that these arms are taking control of him. God knows how these arms have got that much AI in that they've become sentient.
Well, them
I don't know how that works.
they literally is like, oh, if they foreshadow it early on, they're like, oh,
Like you say, he could have just literally made himself an Iron Man suit with the amount of technology he's using that.
like he could have made the arms from Iron Man. Do you know where the little thing is controlling the? That's all he needed. He didn't have to strap it to his goddamn brain.
Yeah.
That was the only flaw in the plot.
It's weird because basically the arms are the villain.
Yeah.
Think about it. I don't think there's any other villain that has been mind controlled by building something for themselves. That makes sense. It's kind of a weird way to put it. But I mean, in recent superhero movies, it's normally the villain that goes and mind controls somebody else, like Loki with his staff. It's not normally like say if Tony Stark created Iron Man, he just turned into a villain, like Obadiah Stane. And the suit just starts controlling him and killing everyone. But yeah, I think he's believable because you get to like him, and then he puts those arms on. You realise that it's not for him, but he completely changes his character. And Alfred Molina.
It's after the inhibitor.
Is it Alfred Molina?
It's definitely Molina. I don't know what his first name is, but yeah.
Yeah, the inhibitor chip breaks, doesn't it? That's why.
Why would you put it in a highly viewable place on your neck? It's just plot. It's just poor plot. But I mean, that's the only poor.
How are you gonna make the inhibitor chip so, like, what would you call it now? So vulnerable. It's just like a little LED.
Yeah, it's just an LED. Like, what is man trying to do, bro?
Put it in some kind of like
box
that cannot be attacked by electricity or something. You know what I mean? Like, make it safe so you don't get bloody electrocuted and then turn into a bloody
Doc Ock
octopus killing monster. Yeah, but I just think it just makes sense. Like, and he's acting.
It makes sense. It's bad.
It makes sense, but it's kind of silly in a kind of comic book way. You know what I mean?
That was the only flaw in plot that I had
and
for that
Alfred Molina, I think that's his name. He's such a good actor, and I can't wait for him to come back because he is.
It's his caterpillar eyebrows that get me, man. His thick ass eyebrows.
He's confirmed for Spider-Man 3.
Really?
But that's on paper. Spider-Man 3. You got Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, Electro.
See, to me, he looked like he looked like a young Go Compare man.
Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, I think, have been confirmed as well. But
all he needed was the mustache. I mean, the Green Goblin is always a cool character.
I think Sinister Six might actually work in this film because we got 3 Spider-Man, so it's not just like 1 Spider-Man versus 6 villains. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of unbelievable. You know, it's not as believable. But I can't wait to see him in action again. He must be getting a lot older now, though, because this has been like 20 years.
He
looks about 50 in this film.
He was born in 1953.
Wow, 1953.
Mm-hmm.
At like 67.
Yep.
If I got that wrong, it's just great, but I can't count.
No, it is 67.
And then we got the train scene, which is obviously my most. Obviously.
Let's talk about the train scene.
The way the public defend him, and they all stick up for him, that's just like incredible. That almost brings a tear to your eye. Or how they all step up and try and take on the villain because they can see that Spider-Man's injured and he's been saving the city for so long, and then just like, if you're gonna pick on him, you gotta go through me. Well, and you see Joey Diaz and young Joey Diaz step in front of him.
Well, the thing is, there is no train station.
You know Joey Diaz?
No.
You don't know Joey Diaz? He's a stand-up comedian. He's got really popular lately. He's a friend of Joe Rogan's. He's so funny. Seeing him in this film now, like going back and watching it, seeing Joey Diaz there and being like, oh, it's Joey Diaz, that just makes it even better. He's also in The Longest Yard. You know Adam Sandler? George.
I don't like Adam Sandler as an actor, so I don't really.
Why did it take you so long to say that? You know, I don't have the camera on the screen. I was so far. Like, what is going on?
No, I was pulling faces at the camera, bro. Well, you know the thing is, that train, there is no overground metro in Manhattan. So
Yeah, this is a fictional Manhattan, George.
No, but what I'm saying is that entire scene was CG. Well, not all of it. Like
I was going to talk about that as well because it also has been done again in other Spider-Man movies.
Yes, where he's
so in Tom Holland's with the boat.
Yeah, the boat, and then
boat,
there's the buildings
the
in the second one.
But for me, I don't know the buildings.
Yeah, he in Andrew Garfield's one, I think he holds the buildings together. I can't remember.
Not sure about that. I will say one of my favourite moments from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man era is when all the cranes come together, and then he shoots across the.
But they do that in.
Across the crane.
They do that in this, don't they? Not in this one, but in the original 3.
Maybe Spider-Man 3, actually. But I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Because that's where they got the idea from, I think.
I know that. I think they got the idea from all the Spider-Man games because they always put cranes in there, and that's always one of the fun things to do. So what else did I say? Yeah, the theme music. This has to be the best Spider-Man theme tune, surely.
I mean, you got the Chinese lady on the violin is my favourite part of that entire thing, playing like the original song.
I don't mean that, George. I mean,
no, I know.
I'm on about comes on and the Marvel credits roll.
I don't know. I like the original like cartoon version. Spider-Man. That one. I like that one compared to the cinematic version of this one.
I really like it. I really like the theme tune. And then obviously, as you say, you got the Spider-Man does whatever.
That is one of my favourite. If we're talking about soundtracks, I think Spider-Verse has had the best. Spider-Verse
we're doing
a podcast. Best.
Someone's asking about Godzilla King of Monsters. That could be something we could discuss in the future. But yeah, we're doing Spider-Man at the moment.
Maybe.
What was you saying, George?
I was saying, compared to all of the other Spider-Mans, the Spider family, Into the Spider-Verse has the best soundtrack. Spider-Verse, yeah, that makes more sense. Spider-Verse has the best soundtrack. I mean,
Spider-Verse has been called arguably one of the best Spider-Man movies of all time. And
it's not arguably, it is the best Spider-Man movie of all time.
I don't know. I'm not 100%. I do love that film, but I think I'd have to give it another watch and give them all another watch and go into depth with it.
Yeah, no, I prefer Spider-Verse.
But for an animated movie, that was brilliant because I don't normally watch animated movies these days.
I watch a lot.
Like, you know, when you get older, and you're not as into animated stuff. I know in this day and age, a lot of people are because of anime and stuff. But I was like, oh, that's for kids. I'm not gonna watch it. I put it on, and I was just glued to the screen, man. I was like, this is brilliant.
It's a really great film.
The writing, and how it's filmed, the Post Malone soundtrack, Sunflower, brilliant. Everything about that is just perfect. It's like a love note to Spider-Man.
It's great.
Or a love letter to Spider-Man, basically. Yeah, it's really good.
I'm thinking about
and I think that also reflects the comic books best.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. It is like a visual representation.
I can't wait for this new Spider-Man because it's basically happening because of that, really, isn't it? Because that did so well. I think that made I made a lot of money for an animated film. I did grow up with the Spider-Man animated series though.
I was more of a Batman. I always watched Batman rather than Spider-Man.
And then I put the special effects. Because they were incredible, as we said, for the time.
They didn't really do many.
Think about Hulk.
Like, the stuff that they did was
even
body
the mechanical
doubles.
arms and everything, like, it was
but they weren't special effects. They were practical. A lot of them were puppets. So people were wearing, like, the green morph suits or the blue morph suits, and they were controlling, like, these huge metal arms. So that when there were CG versions, they had the originals.
That final scene. Where it's holding up the building.
It's Digi-Double. It's Digi-Double.
Did they just like put like a piece of wood? It was holding a piece of wood, and then they just like photoshopped it in.
Oh well, when Spider-Man's holding it.
It's literally holding it all up.
I think it's a set.
You know what? I don't get about that though. He's saying this is really heavy to MJ, and then 2 minutes later he just throws it across.
No, you realise why, right? Because all of the metal is being pulled into the thing, so it literally just ends up being a plank of wood or whatever. That's when he throws it. So
I didn't see it like change shape. I literally watched it like half an hour ago.
yeah,
And I
it
didn't
changes
see the
shape.
metal
It does change shape. That's
I
why it's
think
only like
I
a square.
I thought maybe, you know, when he was talking to MJ and she realised it's him. And she was
He
like,
gets
"Oh, you
that
really
that
do
power
look."
boost.
And he just like, and he's like, "Yes, I do."
Woohoo! Yeet. Yeah, no,
That's
no.
what I thought it was.
No, it's not. It just changes shape. You just don't notice it as much. Like, I was specifically looking for stuff like that because I know that you miss a lot of like that kind of detail on your
I thought
watch.
he might be. That's exactly why I put that in, because I thought George should have something to say about that. I know Spider-Man 1 had really good special effects as well. That was another groundbreaking movie for special effects, because you had a lot of.
So I've written a
explosions and
lot
stuff like
down about special effects for this movie in particular. It's a lot of all of the sets are either miniatures or 3D scans or actual clean plates.
It's really hard to do like miniatures though, isn't it, and make them realistic? Because have you watched?
It's
Is
the
it
camera.
Fast and Furious 7? Fast and Furious 7. Have you seen that?
Well, the
Oh,
issue
they've got
is
two
no, it's the parallaxing of the
little-
camera.
two little Hot Wheels cars, and then they just plonk it into the scene. You see like Vin Diesel and Paul Walker's characters, and they're in this like warehouse. There's two little tiny like Matchbox cars, just on like a sandy. It just looks like something you made in your bedroom, George.
Well,
and
the
they
problem,
just put that into
the issue is,
This
the
is like
issue with
a
that
$1 million
is,
franchise.
there's like a couple of things that go wrong with miniatures. There's parallaxing of the lens, which is something which you'll notice in what film was it?
But this movie does it really well, because I didn't even think it was miniatures.
They're
Honestly,
miniature,
I
but
didn't
they're
even-
not like super miniature. They're like stages, but compared to the size they would be, they are still classed as miniatures.
Well, what points in the movie use miniatures then?
A lot of it actually. Some of the train scene uses miniatures. A lot of the when the sun is being made, that entire stage is a miniature.
You're saying the sun, George. It's not really the sun, is it?
It's what it's based
a ball
on.
of energy.
It's what it's based on, though. That like I watched the behind the scenes. That's what they based it
Look
on.
like the sun.
No, it's
Just
what they
happens
based
to
it
look
on.
like the sun.
It doesn't happen
It's
to look
called
like the
trinium,
sun.
isn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't
It's
happen
called
to look.
trinium.
It doesn't happen to look like the sun. They took the
I was
script.
thinking.
Like they took
I
the
was
script
thinking-
and they were like, oh, he says he has the power of the sun.
The perfect thing to make that scene better is when he's sinking under the water. That trinium creates a ripple and breaks the multiverse. I think Wanda's going to break the multiverse, and then all the Spider-Men are going to come through, and all the villains.
You realise
But what
that
if, at
entire
that
scene,
point,
that
when
entire
he-
scene where he's sinking, right, is CG. That's a digi double. That's
Yeah, but I'm
3D
saying
facial
like
scans.
they're going to bring. It's confirmed that he's going to be in the new Spider-Man. So why not, when he sinks to the sea? Why couldn't that be the point where he's pulled into the multiverse?
You never know. Maybe they might retcon it and do that. You like.
I think that would be perfect, because you don't actually see him die.
No, and you don't ever see anyone die in Spider-Man.
Everyone says that he's dead, or it's been said that he's dead, but you don't see him die. Yeah, you just see him sink. So,
But then
That's
again,
what I
that
was
could be
thinking. I was
that
thinking
could just
about
be
it, like,
because it is
how-
a kids' film.
I was thinking to myself earlier, like, how do they bring him into the multiverse if he's dead, but we don't see him die? So that would be the perfect point if, when the universe breaks, which I think Wanda's going to do with the hacks. You've not seen it, have you? But
No.
she's doing some crazy stuff, man, with chaos magic. She's basically gone full Scarlet Witch.
This has made me like get back into researching. This has got me back into like comic book stuff. So I'm really looking forward to Loki.
We should have watched number one, because I got a story about number one. Like, the reason Spider-Man's so important to me is because me and George are both art students. I got Masters Green Art, and the first Spider-Man movie is what got me into drawing and art in the first place. Seeing him draw that suit just made me want to get the pencils out and draw when I was like, like 5 years old or whatever.
See that.
I don't know.
Like Batman did that for me. Like I really liked to draw that in the Batman style. The guy that drew in the Batman comics. But
I do remember like drawing Batman books as well.
Yeah,
like,
I really
copying the
enjoyed.
books and-
The thing that gave me the most
The
inspiration
Batman I
was
remember
actually
drawing. The
Spider
Batman I
Man.
remember drawing was he had an orange costume for some reason.
Are you
I think I
drunk?
used to have this old Batman. No, I used to have this old Batman figure, and he used to be orange and white. I don't know what universe that Batman's from, but that's just it's not got anything to do with anything. But I can't even see what faces you put in. I just know you put in faces.
What do you mean?
This is the problem with bringing up word because I can't see anything George is doing.
Listen,
It could just be like
listen. The thing is,
in the camera.
the thing that made me really recently get back into art was Spider-Verse. I really liked the art style in Spider-Verse.
When did you watch it? Because I watched it like about 6 months ago.
I watched it when it first came out, and that like pushed me into a more graffiti style for a bit, and then I've slowly come back away from it, only to then go and watch it again and sort of be like, I really like this style again. You know what I mean? Like, I go through phases of artistic style. And it's mainly due to the stuff
I've gone through the film scene by scene. Oh, we can talk about it scene by scene now. I know you love this, George. I think in future we should just do specific scenes, but scene by scene this one. So what I like as well is at the start of the film, it's talking about Mary Jane and how she's the girl he can never have, and like how being a superhero, that's his burden, and he doesn't want to bring people into it. And then
it's really nice.
The way it cuts scenes, it's so funny because 1 minute he's talking about that, he's getting really serious about his love life, and then suddenly
that's Raimi, right? It's because he's done horror and horror comedy that he can just like snap.
What makes me laugh as well is why would Mary Jane want to go out with him when he's just delivering pizzas and she's dating this guy who's like a aerospace engineer or something. Astronaut and got loads of money and she wants to date Peter Parker, but that's the thing, they've been in love since they were kids, haven't they? That's what you get from it, and they're living next door. And what also made me laugh is the fact that Peter's actually kissed her and she doesn't even know because of Spidey kissing #1. How weird's that?
Which you see later on where she tries to redo that with Mr. Astronaut himself.
Does she?
Yeah, she has him lay on the sofa and she has him lay on the sofa and like look up, and then she tries to recreate that moment.
I think she might have got like a sense, because like girls can sense things like based on smell and stuff and taste and that.
I mean,
maybe she.
Spider-Man probably just smells of latex and sweat. Let's be real.
Shut up, George. Oh.
Smells like any teenager's bedroom.
Latex and sweat. So the fact that Peter has so many jobs as well shows that being a superhero can often be a burden. Because like when you think about superheroes, we always think of these perfect people, like
Tony Stark.
Back in the 70s and 80s, like Christopher Reeve's Superman, and Tony Stark, and all these people. We always think of them having perfect lives.
It's because they don't get brand deals. They need brand deals. Where's the Spider-Man cereal?
But this flips that, and it's like, Spider-Man's not perfect. And as a kid, to give you that sense of realism.
But the thing is, it's not that he's not perfect. It's that he can't balance. He can't balance his life, right? Especially when he's at school and his grades are slipping.
But when you get older, you realise that is a genuine thing. It's very hard to do, balancing your life. When you're a kid, you got all these hours in the day. And then when you get older, you got like so many responsibilities, just like we see Peter having there. And it's like, it is a sense of realism. You know what I mean? That you don't often see in these kind of comic book movies.
Okay,
and that was Stan Lee's vision.
Before we go on...
That was Stan Lee's vision. Let me just talk about Stan Lee's vision.
Okay, let's talk about Stan Lee.
So Stan Lee wanted to make superheroes that had their own issues in their life. You know what I mean? He didn't want to make superheroes that are perfect people because he said that wasn't a very good way of storytelling. People couldn't connect to him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he created Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man was meant to be a teenager who has all these burdens and all this schoolwork. And he still goes out, being Spider-Man. And it's finding that balance in his life. So...
Which he doesn't do, even until later on, when it even in the third film, I don't think it really has that work-life balance. Although I think
that's the funny thing.
Anyway, in the third one, doesn't he then do brand deals and stuff?
Work-life balance trilogy.
No, but he does. Yeah, he shows up for photos and stuff, and you remember in the newer one he does as well. I think it was in Andrew Garfield's. He goes to a place for a photo shoot and collects the key of the city and stuff. That to me, that seems like he's been paid
Look,
to be
okay, but oh god, Shed can hold the train.
there.
I don't remember him doing brand deals in number 3.
I can't remember.
Maybe as Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I
as
think
Spider-Man.
the
As Spider-Man. Yeah.
which is another thing that Superman does. But basically, what I'm trying to say is, Stanley wanted to create characters in the comic books that had their own troubles and they overcome them. Because a perfect person is never, it's not very good storytelling. No one likes someone who's fully perfect because everyone has their own issues and troubles. Even in adulthood, you learn that as, a genuine thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying, you know what I mean? I don't know why I keep saying it.
But do you know what I mean?
What we got going on in the chat? Gorgeous Doc Ock. Yep. Somehow you fit perfectly into that role, man. You should definitely do a Doc Ock cosplay. Shed the man. Plays whatever game he can. Shed the man.
They make it seem like they've not even noticed me in that same thing of you holding the train. They've not noticed me being literally in the behind.
I didn't notice you. I looked at it earlier. I didn't notice until I copied it to the bloody Streamlabs. And I was like, bloody hell, that is actually scary. You just blend in so well. Especially with my camera hiding where you've cut the face.
It's so good.
That's what you look like, George, an old train instructor. That's what you're going to look like.
The thing is, the original picture doesn't look anything like that because he's looking down. Like by masking it with the face, you can't see where he's supposed to be looking anyway, so it always fits. Always.
Mm-hmm.
It's the good thing about.
You get what I'm saying, though? Like, he's got his own issues. I feel like in the other Spider-Man, they don't have as much responsibility. They're just in high school, aren't they? They're
Andrew
like younger.
Garfield.
This is basically
Like that.
Spider-Man, and they're progressively getting younger. Even though the actors themselves are like 35 or something. Tom Holland is younger. Can we just talk about Tom Holland as well doing Uncharted, because he looks amazing in these set photos.
The thing is, I don't know how I feel about them making an Uncharted film.
If they do it right, it's going to be perfect. But Tom Holland has come out and said that he wasn't 100% happy with his acting in it, because he said that sometimes they focus on looking cool, rather than playing the character. Which that just shows how good of an actor he is. Like, he's serious about his craft, because to come out and be that honest. That's why.
Well, who's playing Sullivan? Because I saw it and I hated it.
He's such a good actor to play Spider-Man, because he's taken on that responsibility, and he's doing his best. And when he messes up, he actually talks about it. I think people will, they will.
That's why. I'll tell you why I'm not happy about it. Because it's bloody what's-his-face.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Wahlberg as Sully doesn't work for me. That doesn't work.
I can imagine it, but they gotta tint his hair grey.
They haven't. They've left it. I've just looked at the pictures, the set pictures. He does not make a good Sullivan. Mark Wahlberg does not.
Let's talk about one of the infamous scenes next, George. When we finish talking about Mark Wahlberg. It's probably your favourite scene in the movie.
Which one?
Where he saves the kids, and then he leaves the pizza on the balcony, and the man's about to eat a piece of the pizza,
and he just gets it,
and he swings the whip and grabs it out of his mouth, and then somehow he ends up in a cupboard. How'd he get in the cupboard?
Well, he had to change, didn't he? He had to change. He was in his Spider-Man suit, wasn't he? You can't just rock up delivering pizzas.
Just looking at him like, the receptionist is just looking at him like, what the fuck, man? How's he got in the cupboard? Why is the pizza guy in my cupboard?
In the cupboard, yeah.
I didn't even see him come in. And he's just sorting out the cupboard, putting all the mops and stuff away.
Where he's... Well, yeah, because he's a clumsy little guy, right? And he's fallen into the mop room, and all the mops are loose.
That's another funny thing about the Spider-Man, is Peter Parker in these movies is so clumsy and nerdy. It's just hilarious. And then when he's Spider-Man, he's doing all these crazy things, and then he can't even, like, sort out a cupboard. Know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Said it again. Let's have a. Do you know what I mean? Counting the slide.
I think we're on about 7 by now.
17. But yeah, the newest Spider-Man's.
It's tricky, right? What is the plural of men? It already is. Spider-Man is Spider-Men is the plural, right?
Well, the newest Spider-Man, They're a lot cooler. Their personalities are a lot cooler.
Yeah.
The thing is, in the comics, he is supposed to be a bit nerdy and a bit cool. So I think Tom Holland does have the perfect balance, whereas Andrew Garfield is the cool one and Tobey Maguire's the nerdy one, and then Tom Holland's like a amalgamation of them both.
That's why I quite like him as Spider-Man. He's like my top Spider-Man.
When he first became Spider-Man, I wasn't sure because like I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and every time you get to like 2 or 3 films, they just recast the actor. Yeah. But if they're gonna do Spider-Man 3, how it's being portrayed, and it's gonna be 3 Spider-Man, then that is just gonna be that's like a dream come true for me.
That feels like that should be more than one film.
It does feel like that.
Because Spider-Verse is kind of like that, and Spider-Verse feels like it could have been longer.
If they do Spider-Verse though, George, it doesn't have to just be one film, as you say. Because if you just see little cameos of these guys in this film, and then in the next Spider-Man, Spider-Man 4, there's a bigger threat, and then Doctor Strange brings back through the portals. Because Doctor Strange is also in this movie, Spider-Man 3. And it also connects to, like, Doctor Strange too. So, that, it could be a bigger threat. And I think No Way Home as well. Not that this has anything to do with Spider-Man 2. But No Way Home is them either hinted at Tom Holland
getting stuck in the multiverse,
being stuck in the multiverse, or the other 2 Spider-Men being stuck in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I've got a feeling they might kill Tobey Maguire, which I don't know. That's going to be painful. That's going to be like a Tony Stark death. Because think about that. That's how. Say you go to watch it with your kid, like all the dads are going to be crying, man.
Well, the thing is, right? There doesn't seem to be like a full stop death in Marvel at the minute. Tony Stark is supposed to be coming back in TV shows or whatever.
The only person they've killed is Quicksilver.
Yeah, and even he's still alive. They just changed the Quicksilver.
It's Disney, isn't it? It's Disney.
Yeah. Well, like Black Widow.
Marvel's not stupid though. They realise that once they kill people,
Black Widow's coming back.
Yeah, they're not stupid. They realise that you should never shut the door on a character because that's money making. Squeeze every penny, man.
Like in the Loki trailer, you see Black Widow just chilling on a spaceship. Yeah, she's in like a split. Sure? There's a frame of it. Yeah. If you watch the Loki trailer, I would literally
really excited for that. Do you realise that if you look at Disney Plus's schedule,
it looks really great,
there's not a week where we don't have some kind of new Marvel show.
They've got like a phase 4, like Marvel, like 4 or 5 shows coming out, right? It's
a whole year, or like 5-year plan. But the Disney Plus, so like WandaVision runs from now till next week.
Yep.
Well, from like 8 weeks ago to next week, and then we have Captain America.
Yep, Winter Soldier.
Not Captain America, but it's the Winter Soldier
and the Falcon.
Yep. Captain America type show.
Then
and then Loki. We have Loki.
And then it's something else, which I don't know.
And then,
it's like What If or something,
I don't know what's going on after that. But also, slotted in between is the making of. I just realised, George, we missed a trick, because what we should be doing is like every time one WandaVision episode comes out, we should discuss it, because it's really big right now.
Well, I've still not seen. I've still not seen it.
It's brilliant, man.
I know. The idea of it alone reminds me of Legion. That was my favourite TV show when it came out. Legion was such a good TV show.
Man, he's just trying to think of like Spider-Man theme tunes from all of us. There's one George, the Turkey George.
Did you watch Legion?
No.
Oh man, it was so good. Legion is one of my favourite. It's like mutant powers, so it's X-Men based. It's so good. You should honestly watch Legion.
I think I heard something about Professor X's son being in it. Who's
that's him. That is Legion.
But it turns bad though, doesn't it? And in the comics, it's like an actual thing that happens as well.
He doesn't turn bad. I think he's like multiple personalities.
Like uncontrollable.
Split personality disorder. Yeah.
Like Glass, basically.
Yeah, it's really good. You should watch it when you get time. It's so good.
I've noticed that every time we do these podcasts, we pick a specific theme, but
we just go off. We just go off. We've been here an hour and we've not talked much about Spider-Man 2.
I'm getting to it, George.
Yeah.
All right, so
do you know what I mean?
Go on to being in Joe in the office. It's a good job that I do these bits of like scene intros, because otherwise we would just be talking about everything. Me and George are It's just there we are.
I love that Jonah's coming back. I like that he's back in the last Spider-Man.
The fact that they've weaved him into Spider-Man 2.
Oh, I know, it made me so happy.
Tom Holland Spider-Man. It's so perfect. Just seeing that at the end of that movie.
I'm just sad that he didn't laugh. I'm just sad he didn't do the famous laugh.
And you know there's going to be multiverse. Because he discusses multiverse in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Which, you know, Mysterio was like, oh, yeah. Nah, that's not a thing. He's like, that's all fake or bullshit, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that he says, George? Something along those lines.
I don't remember. It's been a while since I watched it. I've got to rewatch Far From Home.
When I think he thinks it's the multiverse, but then I don't know whether it's Mysterio or Fury says like it's not a thing. Then we find out that
Yeah.
But then at the end we see obviously Jonah Jameson on the screen, but this time he's doing a YouTube.
Oh no,
video.
it's so good. Like
That's how he the news. Spider-Man,
so
you're a menace.
I love him as an actor. He's so funny. That laugh.
One bit, though.
That laugh is
He's not
so
bit,
funny. No, I know.
He's not.
He's gone bold. He's gone bold, and that's
you know
it.
who reminds me of? Is it Superman Adventures, Lois and Clark? You know the guy who works in the office.
Yeah.
I've lost you. Probably lost you.
You've lost me, but I'm
Right, so
agreeing.
we
I'm
go
agreeing.
Go to Jonah's office. You agree, but you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We go to Jonah's office, and he's like, we see Peter in his other job. Then,
Yeah.
so technically, he's got the pizza job. He's got uni. He's got school, and then he's also got the photography job. How are you gonna manage that? That's 4 things.
Man
You know what I
should,
mean?
man should
I don't
just
know
pick some things and stick to it.
And you know what I mean again. But that's 4 things that he's doing, and he still can't make enough money to pay the rent.
It's because his attention is so split. And that he only wants pictures of Spider-Man.
You don't realise though, you break it down, though, you're like, hang on. Photography, Spider-Man, college, like even uni on its own, man. Managing all them things. The thing is, I've kind of been through that myself, because this year, I've had to manage uni, I've had to manage YouTube, I've had to manage my other job, and then obviously manage all the other stuff that comes along.
None of that sounds like you being
So I've had
Spider-Man.
Yeah, but I can sympathise with the character because I know his life. I know what it's like to deal with so many things and have so many pressures. That's what I was talking about earlier. Having all those things, you end up like breaking down. Like you can't focus on that many things at once. So like I've had to like take a break from uni and like sort everything out so that I can manage it. That's really what Spider-Man should have done, to be honest.
I mean, he did. He did. Like halfway through the film, he does, right? He stops being Spider-Man. And crime is on.
In number 3, he stops being Spider-Man, and every time we get this like sung montage in like every Sam Raimi movie, you know, the raindrops are falling on my ear, and then we get emo Spider-Man.
Emo Spider-Man is my favourite Spider-Man.
Like the same scene? Isn't it like the same scene like in Spider-Man 2 and 3? Doesn't he do the same thing? He throws the suit away, and then he just goes and does his own thing, and then comes back to the suit again. With a different montage. Oh man, emo Spider-Man when he's jumping on the chairs.
That threw me for a goddamn loop. Spider-Man 3 threw me for a goddamn loop, man. That was so.
The whole Spider-Man, every Spider-Man movie ever.
It was so funny. Like it just came out of nowhere. If you didn't know it was coming, you were like, "Pow, emo Spider-Man." Like,
well, that's why it's become such a meme.
Yeah, because he's doing this awful dancing. I remember the dance. It's like this.
Pay me rent. Have you seen that meme? Pay me rent.
Yeah.
I just stick his head on everyone. Pay me rent. I know I said George hasn't really had a line in this podcast. Really, he's just bouncing off me.
No, because you keep not letting me talk, you goddamn fool.
I gotta get through all the scenes, though, George.
Who cares about the scenes? These fools know the scenes.
Because I think special effects should be an afterthought. We talk about the story first. That's the reason I'm doing it. But you know, feel free to pitch in wherever. So then Jonah says he's going to be fired unless he can get pictures of Spider-Man.
No, that's not what
And then after that, him arriving. Yeah, it is.
No,
he comes in, he's like, "You're fired."
No, not in this one.
He does, but then
No,
he
that's
gives
the
him his
pizza
job
guy.
back.
The pizza guy says that.
No. First, the pizza guy fires him for being a couple of seconds late, and then Jonah says he's fired as soon as he arrives. But I think he manages to like swing a deal with Jonah, and he offers him some pictures towards the end of the film. And then
No, it's not towards the end. It's literally like as he's like
maybe right after,
because he needs the
maybe.
money. He says, he goes, "You're fired," and then he pulls out the picture of Spider-Man and sells it for $300, which he then doesn't get anyway.
How do they not get suspicious? He's getting all these pictures of Spider-Man.
I want pictures of Spider-Man.
Swing all around town, and suddenly he's always there with the camera.
Yeah, I know.
Bang on.
Oh, wait a minute.
You just imagine him like climbing up and get these pictures.
Yeah, I think you
some
see
of the
that in Andrew
angles
Garfield,
that they're at-
right?
No, I don't think
He
so.
sets up a
'cause
timed
I don't think
camera.
it makes pictures like that.
Yeah, because he
Sets up
has the camera.
attached to this.
No, he also has
Not
the camera.
technically.
The entire like process is pretty much the same.
You think about it though, with that business head on him, like he's literally come up with that. He's like, "Hang on, I'm Spider-Man. How can I make money out of this without robbing banks?" He's like, "Well, I'll just take pictures of myself in different locations and send them to the paper that hates me."
Yeah, I know.
So how can you not make enough money to pay the bills when he's like that smart that he thought that idea?
Well, because he doesn't like the idea of them.
Oh yeah, number one is a wrestler, isn't he? He makes money that way.
They don't like the idea. He doesn't. At the end, he doesn't like the idea of them like villainizing him, which is why he doesn't sell pictures. Which is why he says Spider-Man won't post me anymore. Like that is, and that's that. Like that, and he's
But
like, "Oh,
what's
you're
funny
fired."
in this movie as well is towards the end, I was going to talk about it, but Jonah gets his hands on the costume and they think Spider-Man's dead, don't they? And then he's like, "Oh, I didn't, you know."
He's
I
a
wish
hero.
Spider-Man was here to save
He's a hero. I didn't
He's like, "Oh,
realize.
he's a hero," and he. And the
In
funny
that
thing is, like watching Spider-Man 2.1, George, and in that version, he actually puts a suit on and he's swinging around the office like that with a scar on his name pretending to be Spider-Man. I don't know whether you've seen it, but it's in the 2.1 extended cut. It's hilarious. He's literally jumping on the tables going, "Spider-Man." You're not seeing that though, have you?
No.
But it is funny.
I think I've seen it. I've seen a screenshot of it.
What's Alfie talking about? Laser beam schemes. Right. And then I said his uni professor has one arm.
Who doesn't?
It was for foreshadowing Lizard, but I think that might have just been a bad camera angle.
How is the bad camera angle? He's
We'll
clearly
never
got 2 arms.
We'll never know.
He's got 2 arms.
Maybe he was missing a leg. Maybe not.
He wasn't missing any part of him, you dumbass. Imagine your eyes
think
not working.
I'm just looking for Easter eggs, that's why. I wish I could go back and find the scene. My next rewatch it, I'll just send you a picture of what I mean. Okay, so the next bit of the movie, it's Pete's birthday. Doesn't he have a birthday party in every movie?
I don't know if it's every movie, but definitely in the first and second.
Oh man, I've just had a flashback to Spider-Man 1 where he's on the ceiling and
Stuck to the ceiling and...
Is it he needs a wee or there's blood dripping from his arm? One of them. And he's trying not to get it on the Green Goblin. That's another,
classic.
hilarious scene. There's so many good scenes in Spider-Man 1, we have to do it. But yeah, he arrives at his birthday party and MJ and Harry are there to celebrate with him, where they discuss Harry's latest funded project with Professor Octavius. Professor Octavius. And he allows Peter the opportunity to meet Doc Ock. So literally, they've just...
How do we get the villain in?
Oh yeah. I know what we'll do. We'll just have another birthday party like in number 1. We'll get Harry in and we'll say, "Oh, I'm funding this project and you want to come and meet the guy." What a coinkydink.
What a coinkydink.
How convenient. How convenient that
That's just
Harry
typical
happens to know
plot
Doc Ock,
push.
and he happens to be at the birthday party. The thing is, the pace in this movie is actually really good, to be fair.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's quite slow, but it's just a nice pacing, I feel. I should know. I've watched it like 3 times in the last 2 weeks for preparing for this podcast.
But you can't remember the professor's got 2 damn legs and 2 damn arms. Yeah,
I swear, George, it looks like he has one arm in one of the scenes.
No. You
Prove me
dumb.
wrong.
You dumb.
So Harry's still suffering the loss of his father and says Peter, be honest, if you knew who Spider-Man was, would you tell me? And then you see in his face, like he just doesn't even react, does he? He doesn't know what to say.
No.
And then we get a conversation with Aunt May. And then I put, which auntie do you prefer in the Spider-Man movies? But I think we're gonna get onto that later.
Yeah, we can do. I'll write that down so we don't forget.
And then we get a little, we have a little conversation about Uncle Ben. And then we get a flashback in our head to the loss of Uncle Ben. And he's quote, great purpose, great responsibility. Or that's what I got anyway.
I didn't get that.
There was no flashback in the film. It's just in my head. Like that's what I thought of. You know, when you think about Uncle Ben, that's what you think of. Yeah. I also think about the superhero movies Uncle Ben. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Have you seen the superhero movie?
Yeah, I think so actually. A long time ago.
That version of Uncle Ben's really funny. It just so happens that everything I've seen, George has not seen any of it, man. We need to get him watching more movies. You can see that they both really like each other, but don't admit it. This is Pete and MJ, this scene.
Yeah. In the back garden.
It's not Peter and Doc Ock.
Peter and Harry.
Yeah, that was gonna happen in Spider-Man 4, but never happened. Nah, I kidding. Harry was gonna steal.
He's gonna romance.
Yeah,
That's what emo does. That's what emo Spider-Man does. Him and Harry are best friends.
You know what's funny though, George? In this scene where she's talking to Peter and you can see they really like each other and it's building, she doesn't tell him that she's got a boyfriend in that scene, or I don't think she mentions it.
She never mentions it until he spots her with a...
Mentions it later. I think anyway, I could be wrong.
She doesn't even mention it. He sees her with her after he misses the...
It's quite confusing because a lot of the scenes in this movie are quite similar. So when you think back to it, you get a bit confused.
And it's supposed to be like repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day. So they don't admit it, but I feel like she has a suspicion.
Oh yeah, she knows. She definitely knows.
She has a suspicion that he's someone, you know, that he's someone special. I think she is very suspicious that he is Spider-Man.
I don't think she's ever suspicious that she's Spider-Man. I think she's suspicious that he's not telling her he loves her. Which you see later on when he's talking to Doc Ock. You
kind of tell, can't you, by like the chemistry and stuff that you have for someone. You know what I mean?
You see it later when he's talking to Doc Ock as well.
Yeah, you see it a lot. And Kirsten Dunst as well. She's hot, man. Hope Abby's not watching because I was gonna be like, "You're talking about a girl."
I mean, she was in my chat not 5 minutes ago.
You haven't watched Spider-Man. You're uncultured. Who's not watched Spider-Man? Alfie, get out of the chat, mate. You don't deserve that red S, that red S on. Right. Okay. So then we get Peter arriving home, where his landlord's asking for rent. Pay me rent.
Pay me rent.
Infamous meme, my bro. when we
and
see
his
Peter's
daughter clearly likes her.
Yeah, she likes him as well. Keeps bringing him cake and stuff, and he doesn't make a move.
Pussy.
The way that guy treats his daughter as well. Gets to do everything.
It's really funny. I like. It's such a like a what's the word? A cliche.
Like a 50s sort of cliche. And then we get a sense that he doesn't have the perfect life again. You know what I mean? Like it's basically, it's like he's living in a slum, but it kind of gives you a sense of what what life as a university student is like, but like over exaggerated massively. Like all the walls have all the paint peeling and they're all grey and like, there's all cobwebs everywhere. You know what I mean? Say it again. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, mate.
He could have just stayed at home with his aunt and helped to pay the rent there.
Yeah. I think he wanted to because
he can then.
Well, it's because he wants to be Spider-Man. Else, like he wants to be able to switch between, like, without having to worry, right? I guess that's probably why he originally moved.
Yeah, it's like this over-exaggerated, like a proper shithole, basically. But it really works. But I can't imagine him doing that again with any other superhero movies of this day and age.
I mean, they probably will if they start like Black Panther kind of was right. A little bit.
What do you mean, George?
It's been a while since I've
been. You mean like had they went to the like flats and stuff? And
yeah, and that was like the closest I can picture at the top of my mind, like
Kill-
Killian.
When we see Killmonger as a kid in the
Killian.
flats, but like this is even worse. Like, you know, like all the paint's peeling off and everything. You can see that he doesn't have the perfect life at all. And that's kind of what being a university student's like. Like, you struggle for money and stuff, you know what I mean? Why do I keep saying that? You struggle for money and you get put in these, like, student flats that are...
Fall apart, yeah.
Horrible. I mean, ours was pretty good. I mean, George's ceiling was falling down and stuff, but that's another matter. But overall...
I still nearly had to pay for that as well, even though it clearly wasn't my fault, god damn it. I'm still salty.
How can I say it's your fault, George? How can you break the ceiling?
Well, no, they were like, oh yeah, there's like handprints. There were like handprints on the walls. And like I'd taken, like, because when I first moved on, I took pictures anyway. I was like, well, this is when I first moved in, look at the date stamp. And they were like, oh yeah, no, you're fine. So that's a tip, everybody. When you go to university, take pictures of your accommodation when you first move in, because then you can use that as evidence.
Have you ever lived in like a grotty flat like this at uni? What was your other accommodations like?
Other accommodation, first one was perfect. No, there was never anything near that, but people definitely have.
I think where we went to uni, the accommodations are pretty good, but in some places they can be quite like shady and
London's pretty bad.
Not the best places to live. And I think especially, you know, in 2002, I can't imagine the university accommodations being that good.
Well, the thing is, right? Like it's like Manhattan, right? So land is expensive anyway. It's the same in London. I'm assuming there are some pretty bad accommodations in London as well.
Yeah, I think if you did study in London, you'd have to find a place like that because you don't really get much money, do you?
You get like a couple hundred more or whatever, like maybe 1,000 more.
Extra. It's expensive. That's what I'm kind of getting into. It's like it's showing you what it's like to be an adult, basically, because he's an older Spider-Man. He's got all these responsibilities. He's struggling to pay the bills. He's living in a crappy flat. He can't afford the rent. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I do well know what you are saying, good sir.
You know what I mean.
I do know what you're saying.
And then we have the first meeting with Doc Ock.
Doctopus.
When he echoes the line, "Smart but lazy," and I've always used this line. I remember saying this to George a few years ago when I was talking about me and George being at uni. Like, we're smart but lazy.
But like the thing is, like he's obviously like taking it from the teacher's words, which makes sense in that context. But like,
yeah,
when you meet someone, you should never say they're smart and lazy. That's just like poor communication skills. But like,
that's something Dan would say to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, oh, Andrew. But yeah, like he proves himself. He proves himself when he starts talking about.
When I was doing my masters, George, and like I was struggling to find ideas. He never said like, "Oh, you're lazy," or whatever. He's always been really supportive. But I think Dan, as a Jew, would say that. But I really like this university professor in this movie.
Yeah, he seemed like a real human. Professor. Yeah. So he
knows his stuff.
So as
like a real human.
Yeah. He makes it up by like when he's talking about like resonance and sonic frequencies and stuff about when he's talking about nuclear fusion and fission and stuff. Like it's very clear.
Yeah, like later in the movie, he's always the one to put up his hand, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like the teacher's pet. Like everything he says is he just chucks his hand up and he's like, "Oh yeah, nuclear fusion." And he's like, "Very good, Peter." And then you see like, how intelligent he is when he gives his full attention to his work. Like he's actually really intelligent. And when he turns up to class, that was the main thing. It wasn't that he was stupid. It was just he would never turn up on time and he'd miss a lot of classes, really.
Because he's juggling all this stuff, which is something you shouldn't do. Pick on like two things to focus on.
That's really what I got though when watching it back, and I never really noticed it when I was a kid. Like it didn't stick out as much, but I can kind of sympathise with it now.
Mm-hmm.
I know I keep going over it, but like it just every little bit of the movie, it's always like he's trying to take on too much.
And you can see that. You can see that throughout the film, right? It's like it starts. It's like a gradual decline, and then it's like it hits rock bottom.
Doctors and stuff, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because he goes to the doctor, doesn't he? He's like, "Oh, I keep having these dreams. I'm Spider-Man."
Yeah, that's because his web's not working, right? In my dream,
yeah.
my dream.
That's also like another adult joke, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got a friend. I've got a friend.
I've got a friend and his webs aren't working properly.
Got a friend and I can't stick to walls. But yeah, like, so it's like a gradual decline, and you see like the pressure mounting on him as it goes on and goes on until he like finally snaps, throws the suit away.
You don't notice because this is like a film for all generations, really.
Yeah.
It's a bit more adult than the recent Spider-Man, but it was still portrayed as a kids' movie. You know, it was like PG, wasn't it? So it was something you could watch with your parents.
Yeah.
But then we get the first meet with Doc Ock, and he echoes the lines "smart but lazy," and he has a speech about intelligence being a gift, which is used for the good of mankind, which he says earlier. So it makes the film fit nicely together because they have this line twice in two different contexts. One when it's Peter and Professor, and one when it's Peter, and one when it's Spider-Man and Doctor Octopus. You know what I mean? So he's having that. It's like a duality. He's having the same conversation twice, and it makes the film mesh together well. Because that's why he kind of changes his mind. He sees at the end that it is Peter, and he's got this connection with him, and he sees a bit of himself in Peter, and then he's like, "What am I doing?" And he says the line back to him. He's like, "Intelligence should be used for the good of mankind." At the end.
Yeah. Now jump in that river and die.
So he has dinner with him, and you get a sense that he's a nice guy. Yeah, he loves his wife. He loves his work. It's hard to see him as a villain at that point. Like, you kind of get to know the character. You get to like him.
Yeah, I think that's the entire point they did that, because you need to know he has this flip side, right?
Yeah. So we get Peter into poetry, and he's a romantic. You know. It's kind of a shame later on when his wife dies. You can definitely see that it's not him, as you just said, because the inhibitor's gone. He doesn't even react. Barely reacts to his wife dying.
That's when he like snaps. That's when he fully snaps. Yeah. Like that's when you can see him talking to the thing.
That he really loves his wife. So for him to just stand there and just carry on with what he's doing and barely react.
And it's like the real crime would not be finishing what I've started. Which is something you go through grief. It's like denial, right? Like
he also says that line as well. Peter echoes it back again because they have like this 5-minute dialogue with a lot of different lines. And Peter says to get what you want, you have to go slow and steady, and you don't always get what you want. So again, that's kind of saying to Peter, divide your attention up, slow and steady, you know. Are you getting that, George? Because you've gone quiet again.
Yeah, I'm getting it. I'm just thinking.
I just imagine you just on your phone, not even listening. Completely bored,
Dude, we've been doing this for an hour and 15 minutes, and we're like 4 scenes into the goddamn movie. Let's speed it up a bit.
What's good, George, is I did this like last week when we were supposed to do the podcast, and you bloody cancelled on me. So I got to an hour in. I did like 7 scenes. And then today, I thought I'd finish it off and get the rest of the scenes in. But then I thought, you know what? It's going to make the podcast 4 hours long.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was I decided just to pick 3 or 4 scenes towards the end of the film. So it is going to get a bit quicker, don't worry. We're not short on time, are we?
Well, I mean...
I don't think it's any rush. This is our only stream of the day, George.
It's 10:30, and I'm hungry.
It's our only stream, George. Come on. Don't be like that. Don't worry about the time. People have been waiting for this podcast for like 3 weeks as well.
No, they haven't. If they were waiting, they'd be in chatting up.
There is people in chat.
Yeah, there's Dubsy, Abby, and Martinez.
Alright, so Peter's on his way to Mary Jane.
Sees the police.
He's on his way to the show.
Mm-hmm.
When a car chase takes place.
And he has
see
to
Peter
decide.
do a flip over a car.
I love that scene.
Kids
I love that scene.
And say, how did you do that? And he says, eat your vegetables,
Eat your greens.
Eat your spinach. And to which one of them says, that's what my mum always says, and I never believed her. I love it. I love that scene.
No, Martinez, we're not streaming again today. This is it for us.
It's when the kid says, "Oh, my mum always says that, and I never believed her." My mum always tells me to eat my greens,
but I never eat my greens.
Again,
fuck
that's
broccoli.
Like, that's reaching out to all the kids watching.
Yeah.
and their parents can watch it and be like, "Yeah, I told you to eat your vegetables. Spider-Man eats his vegetables."
Spider-Man
They
eats
basically
greens.
put that in to do a solid for the parents.
Definitely.
A police car flips and Spidey webs it up,
Stops
saving the
it
people
crushing it.
nearby.
Like,
Yeah,
not just at this point,
we
but
get
a
to
lot
see.
of points in the film, you see him being like this sex icon to all these women. They're like, "Oh, take me with you, take me with you."
Yeah, but then under the mask is like this nerdy guy.
Nerdy
who's
little dweeb. Yeah.
and, and basically you, George, really, under the mask, nerdy little dweeb.
I don't know what you mean. I am not Spider-Man. I am not Spider-Man.
You know, it's quite funny because in the new Spider-Man, he's trying to like tell her, isn't it? And then she's like, "Oh, you're Spider-Man."
Yeah.
That's for another video. This is the first point, apart from the start when he's delivering pizza, that we actually get to see Spider-Man in action.
Yes.
And this is like an hour in, and he's taking down the criminal.
It's about, because I've got the timings,
For a Spider-Man movie,
it's about
there's not much Spider-Man.
25 minutes in. It's about half an hour before the
You
car
realise
goes.
that, George? For
Yeah,
a
I know.
Spider-Man movie, there's not much Spider-Man, which is weird because it's still a brilliant movie.
It's about half an hour in when he like starts to have trouble with the web shooting.
I think what makes it so good is the fact that it's still building the character. Like we got this character in number 1, and they want to develop it more. This is like 6 years later, so you know they're trying to flesh out the character more. I think that's what makes it good because I think in a lot of superhero movies they just skip all these details. You know, just to get out a movie,
Just to
and
get
just
to
to
the
make
action.
it quicker for the story. You know what I mean? Like
It's not so much
in the
now,
recent
but
Doctor Who, I was very underwhelmed because like they'd have these like plot MacGuffins where everything would be solved in one swoop,
yeah.
and there was no story to the characters. The characters weren't developed. Like you had the Daleks all flooding into a TARDIS just as a quick way to end the bloody fight scene.
It's not so
what
bad
you want. You
now.
want
It's not as bad now. It's sort of faded away a little bit from that. But yeah, there are always plot devices. People call it like Ex Machina, where something will come in and save you from whatever, right? Because
but
in the
this
film Deus
is
Ex-
nice because there's not much of that.
Yeah.
There's not much of that, and when it does happen, it's just to move the story forward, and it doesn't move it forward so quick that you feel like you're missing out on stuff.
Yeah, because
It's like it's a very honest movie in the way it's portrayed. I think.
in whatever film, like whatever Avengers film it is, where they're all protecting like this button, just move the bloody button, you dumbasses. Like honestly.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah, these idiots, man. Just move the thing. Move the thing. That's all you got to do. Move the thing somewhere else. You have to protect it and have.
I think that's a movie where it just jump cuts to like the action.
A lot of
stuff. It
literally all
can
of them.
work. It can work. A lot of the times it does work. But some movies, you really want that character development.
See, in all the
And I think
in the
that's the
superhero
reason.
standalones, they don't do that. It's when there's like a
That's the
co-op
reason.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the reason why number 3 failed, because this movie is perfect paced.
Yep.
Doesn't have as much going on in terms of like, it's got one like really nice villain. Not I say nice villain. It's got one villain that's kind of believable, and the story is focused on him and Spider-Man. It's not like 4 or 5 villains. And in Spider-Man 3,
yeah.
it does feel like that. It
That's-
feels like it's jumping because you're trying to fit everything in. You know what I
That's
mean?
the issue
One
with
minute
like
quick,
a lot of
like
stuff
Batman.
fitting into one movie. If you don't edit it right, it doesn't work. Like the one where I think it
So like
does
to go
work.
from this movie to Spider-Man 3 is such. They're 2 different concepts, and if they would have went for what they were going for in the beginning and split it up into like they're planning like 5 of these movies.
And they
supposed
smushed
to
it
be
into,
5
they smushed it into
in
3
the original,
because Tobey
in the
Maguire
original saga.
he only signed up for 3 movies, right?
No, it was actually the investors and the stakeholders wanted him to put Venom in. It was supposed to be a Sandman movie.
Yeah.
Which I think if they did that, it probably would have worked better if they saved Venom.
even
for
if
number
even if it
4.
was just Venom, the film Venom is
I think
great
Venom would
because
have
it
been
is
solid.
just Venom.
Would have been a solid one. I think that is a really good depiction of Venom now.
What?
I'm not sure about the Eddie Brock character, but the Venom, the symbiote looks really cool.
Yeah.
Again, the Eddie Brock character, I don't like that guy in Spider-Man 3. Like Tom Hardy's Venom is like
I love Tom Hardy.
You just like
Tom Hardy Venom.
You like the character. Tom Hardy is a really good actor. I'm not sure about him in this new Capone movie though, because all he does is piss and shit the bed. Basically.
I haven't seen it.
It's on Netflix.
Was Tom Hardy the one
yeah,
that played? Was it I Am Legend away? Like not I Am Legend. Bloody hell. The Cray twins. Isn't he? Doesn't he play the Cray twins? Or is that not Tom Hardy?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of my favourite.
What I love about that film is he's playing two characters, but he does it perfectly. Like, he's playing two different people. Like,
because they've got very different. They've got very different really personalities. There are like in Glass, he plays multiple characters, right? Split personality.
In Glass, I've not actually seen Glass. But
no, not Tom Hardy. Bloody Dr. X. Mr. X.
What's his name?
Dr. Octopus.
What's the name? The character. Mr. Octopus.
MacGyver. No.
We can't go on with the podcast that we thought of this.
Macbeth. James McAvoy. McAvoy. James Macbeth.
James McSandwich.
Chicken Legend.
Let's carry on anyway. So he's outside the theatre. Mysterio. Well, he's set up to do, so it doesn't let him in.
We're only here.
Yeah, you're in the wrong scene for.
God damn it. It's been 84 years. It's been 84 years.
I'm talking through these slower than the actual film.
Yeah, you got them on, bro. Let's go.
Okay, so we're outside the theatre, and then we get does whatever a spider can, Spider-Man. And you see MJ and her partner kissing, and you see Peter's disappointment.
Then he disappears in a puff of smoke and throws the suit away.
It kind of sucks though. Like they don't give him any breaks in these films, do they? No. Like he gets fired like 4 times in this film. He has to go to the doctor because his webs aren't working.
My friend's webs.
He gets MJ stole away from him. He's not given any breaks, man.
That's the point. It's slowly descending, right? That is the reason. Yeah. When his breaking point is when he makes a decision to.
That's what they say. Flying high in April, shut down in May. That's a copyright strike.
I don't think so. Somehow.
Let's talk about the CGI on Doc's arms, then, George.
Why, instead of carrying on this 2-hour lecture about
I'm not going to carry it on, but this is what I've written down as the next point. Because I think I was watching, and I just wrote down little points in between my my long script. So on the word page, I've just got Doc Ock's arm.
So his arms are majoritively real. They're puppeteered by people wearing green screen suits. It's only when there are scenes where they didn't have time.
Those arms were £100.
Yeah,
that suit was 100.
They said they're stupidly heavy. They had a person on each arm, controlling each arm, because it was so heavy. One person had to do each arm.
It's amazing that you don't see any of them.
When they went,
see them in any frame.
It's because they're blue suited up. It's quite easy to wipe because they're like a full block of person.
Imagine watching that being filmed, George. We just four men walking behind you. Morphs, and you have to keep a straight face. Oh my God.
The thing is, right? They 3D scanned the. Dropped my phone on my foot. They 3D scanned the arms so that they could have. Like photorealistic. They could have photorealistic CGI. They had like all the surface texture and the surface deformations and stuff like all the.
But again, like back then, like a film in the 2000s, those arms are so well done.
It's because they are directly 3D printed or 3D scanned and like from the actual puppeteer and stuff. So the animation is quite easy. It's just like you can either hand animate it, or I think what they did was simulations, but I'm not really sure. I didn't look into like the how they dynamically moved it.
I think, as you say, it's not the CGI that makes it good. It's the fact that they haven't, they've done.
It's not overly.
That makes sense.
So, like,
there are overly effects. Some movies that do so many
Star
effects.
Wars.
They end up becoming really bad effects.
Well, the thing is, like, most of the Marvel films are filmed on sound stages, right? They're filmed on blue screens or green screens, and that sucks. It makes sense because they've got
These
powers,
days, like,
but I hate it. Like, there's not many people that do like, actual props, and when you do, you can tell, and that's when you know something looks good.
yeah, and in this day and age, it is that, and I think that's why it stands up. It stands up to time because it's realistic. It's like an honest depiction.
That's why I quite like horror movies, because a lot of horror movies do practical
the world
props.
looks the way it's supposed to look. When Spider-Man gets injured, he gets injured. I mean, on that picture, you see him pulling the train, and his suit's got a massive tear down it. You know, his suit is ripping apart. That's what I want to see. You do get to see it sometimes, like, you know, in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, I was watching that last night. He gets proper beaten up by Bucky.
Yeah.
You know, he almost dies. So, like, that's the kind of thing I want to see. And they do get better at it, but sometimes superhero movies can be like that, where you just see this perfect suit.
Well, I mean, that's the
I
point.
think at the end
they've moved away from realism. Realism. That was a word that was difficult to say. That I didn't think it would be. They've gone away from realism
He must have
to like
five
superpower.
of those suits, though. This is the only issue. He must have like 5 of those suits, because I think when he comes back in the second act of the film, the suit's repaired itself.
Yeah, well, he's the one that made it, so it
That's
makes
what
sense
I'm
that he can make it, right?
Yeah, just throw it up, yeah. That making of the suits, that's one of my favourite scenes. We should definitely talk about that if we do Spider-Man 1. You can see I'm invested in these movies, because every time I pick the movie, these podcasts go on for a considerable amount of time. I mean,
so he's dumped the suit.
3 weeks ago?
Man's dumped
Was
the
it 3
suit.
weeks? No, I don't think we got to that point yet, George. Let me just say something. 3 weeks ago, we was talking about Pat Morita's life, and I spoke about that for about 4 hours.
Yeah, and that nearly killed me off. No lie.
Oh, don't make me laugh. So next we get to the bank vault scene. So these are just the scenes where I've wrote. There's like 4 or 5 scenes that are important, integral to the movie, and that stand out. So the bank vault scene, where we got Aunt May and Peach in the bank. Was it like she's trying to get a free toaster because he doesn't do the deal, and then he's like, "No, you can only do that if you get the deal."
Yeah, and it's always in small print. You have to deposit $300 or whatever.
That's definitely the thing, though. It's always the way, man. I always walk past the sign.
Buy one, get one free or something.
Where I live. No, it's Carcraft, man, and it says 3,000 in huge letters. And then you look to the left, and it says up to in really tiny letters. I'm like, oh man, 3,000 off every car. That's what it says, 3,000 off every car. You look to the left, in tiny little writing, it just says up to.
They always
and the 3,000's like that, and the up to's like that. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. But when he's with Aunt May, and Doc Ock is taking up the building, Doc Ock kidnaps like 10 people in this film. Mary Jane, Aunt May.
A lot of them are digital doubles. A lot of them are digital doubles, and this is the first time you'll see digital doubles in a film that isn't The Matrix.
But again, this is like Spidey, well, Peter not getting any luck because Aunt May basically threw off a building.
Clings on by an umbrella. Oh, I love that Aunt May. It's like so funny.
Woman.
And then she just slowly slides down it.
At one point where the CGI might be a bit bad, I think it's when Doc Ock's on top of the building. I think that's the only.
The only times I've noticed that the CGI was bad was the digi doubles don't look great on the train scene, and when he's carrying Mary Jane away, the physics don't quite look right on her. But she's just a green screen comp, but it just doesn't look like it's grabbing her right. That's the only ones I've written down.
He manages to save Aunt May though, doesn't he? He swings down and grabs her.
Snapped in half.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he can save Aunt May, and then in Andrew Garfield's, he just swings the web. You just see this slow motion web just going. Because that's brilliant filmmaking.
He doesn't get bitten by the spider, does he? In the other one. What does he? I don't know.
Yeah, it does. It does in Andrew Garfield's. I don't think we see him get bit in Tom Holland's.
No, because he makes a solution, right? He makes a solution.
But like I've seen that for years. I've seen that being mentioned where Andrew Garfield doesn't even swoop down. If that was Tobey Maguire's, he would swoop down like he does to catch Aunt May. He just waits for the web to catch her. Like,
I guess.
Why wouldn't you jump past the rocks and stuff? There is a lot of debris, but
the thing is, it's different styles of Spider-Man, right? Each Spider-Man's different. Like Tom Holland.
I think that might be why Amazing Spider-Man 2 failed. I think it's because of how gritty that scene is.
Maybe I just thought it was really funny.
But to kill Gwen,
it's just the donk on the back of the head that really got me. Like, whoop! I wasn't expecting that.
How does that progress the story? I know at the end he's like, "What have I done?" Like Gwen's dead, and it's basically because of me, and he stops being Spider-Man.
Well, the thing is, like in the movie before,
2 seconds later, it's Spider-Man again.
Well, in the movie before, doesn't he kill her? He kills her dad in the first one, right?
It's the same thing. Like her dad dies, and he says, "Stay away."
And then he goes, and then he saves.
And in this one, he goes back to her, but also stops seeing her, but she won't stop seeing him.
Yeah.
And then she dies, and then the same thing happens again. But it's 2 seconds later, and then he's Spider-Man again. I love the end of that movie. It is really sad though. But if you think about it in terms of this trilogy, it's like half of a movie.
Yeah.
Where he stops being Spider-Man, and in that, it's like 2 seconds at the end of the film. Like girlfriend dies. Oh, stop being Spider-Man. 1 week later.
Big crocodile, better go save the world. Oh man, pacing in films is something that is really difficult to get right.
Yeah, but I feel like this pacing, as I said, it's perfect.
It's perfect for this style of movie. Yeah.
That's why the film never gets boring. It is quite a slow movie, but the payoff for those big scenes, the train scene, the end of the movie, and like, there's such big payoffs as a fan to see on the big screen. Like, I think those are literally ripped from the comic book pages, like the train scene, and just some of these iconic scenes. They're just such a big payoff, and it makes you want to watch the film again and again and again.
Yeah.
That's always the way. Normally, with me, it's just one scene in the movie. If it's really good, I will rewatch it, and I will love that film forever. But it's normally only one scene. This has several.
Yeah.
Yep. Just keep saying yep.
Yep. Yep.
It's funny how like Doc Ock as well gets his ability. He's got his arms, and what's the first thing he does? He goes and robs a bank. Whereas, good old Spidey's just taking pictures of himself.
The thing is, he needs the money, but he's like, oh, Oscorp won't give me the money again. So then it's like the little voice in his head is like, rob the bank. And it'd be a crime if I didn't.
No, it's not enough.
No, he just needs the
That's why. That's why he kidnaps Spidey. Oh, he needs Trinium. That's what it is. Trinium. That's a cool name, by the way.
That's ripped straight from the Matrix. Trinity.
So yeah, he stops being Spider-Man, and he chucks his suit off in the bin, which is also from a comic book, I think, book page, iconic comic book scene, and we just see him walking away from his suit in the pitch black alley. It's quite sad, but I think that also happened in number 3.
It happened in
we've seen a lot of. I think we've seen a lot of reoccurring themes there. And then he saves a child from a burning building, which I think happened in number 1.
I don't remember.
But once he saves that child, he realizes that he needs to be Spider-Man because there was another person in the building that died because he wasn't Spider-Man. Because if Spider-Man was there, he would have been able to save more than one person. Because he was being Peter Parker and not Spider-Man in that instance. Someone died. So then he goes and puts on the suit again. But that also shows, like...
Well, he doesn't put on the suit till he doesn't put the suit on till he falls off a building and hits his back and it's like, my back. And that scene just made
Again, that happens in number 1, doesn't it, as well? Doesn't that happen in number 1, where he, like, slams into the billboard?
Yeah.
This one, he falls onto the car. So again, a similar theme keeps reoccurring. It's like the same template, isn't it?
And it's like after that, when Mary Jane asks if he loves her or not, like it's basically the next scene.
But it is slightly different because in number 1 he's in a burning building, but he's Spider-Man, and in this one he's Peter Parker, and he's not using any abilities there. So it does show that without the suit, like in Tom Holland Spider-Man, when Iron Man says,
"What are you about the suit?"
if you're not good enough without the suit, then you shouldn't put the suit on. You shouldn't have the suit. So we see that he is like a genuine hero, even without those abilities. He would still go out of his way to save that person. So that's who he is.
That's because of Uncle Ben, right? It was because, like just after, I think it actually might have been before this, just before the burning building. He tells Aunt May about what happened, and how it's his fault that Uncle Ben died, or his fault, even though it's not. But it's the fact that weighs on him that makes him be Spider-Man, right? It's that emotional, like, connection to sort of everything.
They get back to Uncle Ben's death always echoes throughout the whole trilogy.
Yeah, you get a flashback with Uncle Ben in this film,
and that is still one of the most iconic Spider-Man scenes. Like, great power comes great responsibility. Everyone always remembers that.
Yeah,
that's always the line that everyone remembers. So after that,
burning building.
So we say Charles for a burning building. No, I put he steals the suit from Jonah.
That's after,
because Jonah's wearing. I was watching 2.1.
So it's
I've skipped a lot of bits there, but if you want to jump in and talk about some stuff before I get to the other bits, then you can.
Well, it's Jameson's got the suit. Then it's Peter confesses to Aunt May. Then it's the burning building. Then it's Peter and Aunt May in the backyard when he's talking with the kid about why being a superhero.
To be honest, I feel like the way I prepare for these podcasts is completely wrong, because I just write a whole script of everything that's happening in the film and then talk about it all the way through. What I should really do next time, talk about why we like the movie, have specific points, and then talk about specific scenes.
Well, it's like, but when he puts his suit on.
And that's kind of work. Because the way me and George talk about things, we go off on tangents anyway, and we end up discussing a lot of topics, but this ends up being the central thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works.
So he gets his suit back.
You know, we're basically winging the last 8 weeks of podcasts.
Oh, yeah. Somehow we're doing it. No one's noticed. So he gets his suit back, and then he's on the train because
really scared me, man, seeing myself in that train scene.
You look good. You look good as Spider-Man.
It's so bad, but it's good.
Yeah. I didn't even bother matching the colours or anything. I just smacked your head on it and it worked. I was like, yes. I didn't even cut your hair out. I didn't even cut your hair out. Yeah, it's 2 fringes. It is. Because I just stuck to, like, even your hair on it. It works.
How long it took me to make the one with me and you? About an hour.
Mine took 10 minutes. Mine took copy your face, outline, smack it on, perfect.
The way I put my eyes and my mouth on Tobey Maguire there, like, that is actually my eyes and my mouth.
You just can't tell.
It still looks like Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, I know. That's why I just stick your face directly on it, because it looks funnier and it works.
Face more than Tobey Maguire. It looks like Tobey Maguire had a stroke.
It really does. It's horrifying.
But your face is perfect. I don't know what it is. You just I think it's the glasses. Because Doc Ock has these black glasses, man, which you should definitely get yourself a pair of them. If you cosplayed as that, it would just work. And just could see it happening.
I've got to do the flamingo first. So he's on the train. I haven't started it. He's on the train. Catches the train.
I'm at the train.
Catches the train.
We've already talked about it. But the suspense in this moment, like, I think this is like a 10-minute scene. The way you see the buildings ripping apart, and he's like really stretching, and again his suit's tearing up. Like,
it's like good. It's not a 10-minute scene; it's a 15-minute scene. Because I've got the chapter titles.
He keeps swinging webs, doesn't he? He does like 10 webs, and again Tom Holland does this with the bow. He's like, it must be like 20 webs. That shows how strong his webs are, though, because they are actually slowing down the train, not fast enough in that moment, but they are working. When he does like 20 webs, it does start to slow down.
But you notice what the webs look like. Have you noticed what the webs look like? Hot glue. They're literally strands of hot glue.
They look really good, though.
They work.
I really like the way.
It's literally it's just hot glue dropped.
I like the fact that things are so bold that they just catch your eye, like the suit, the webs. It's all really bold and it just looks amazing, really. I like it.
So that train scene.
And what was I saying?
That train scene.
So think about
88% of that train is CG.
The speed the train's going at, imagine this. The buildings slowing down that train. I think I don't know. What was it?
It's probably on par with
Mythbusters or
actual spiderwebs.
I don't know whether it was like comic book myth busting or whatever. It's some kind of channel on YouTube, but I think they discussed this, like how Spider-Man stopped that train. They've also done videos on how heavy Thor's hammer is and stuff, and I think I can't remember what they said, but
Hella
as you
strong.
say, I think it is like
Hella strong.
yeah.
Well, spiderwebs are like the most tensilely
Dude.
strong. Spiderwebs are like the most
Good save.
tensilely strong material in nature. They can hold a lot of weight in one direction but not another, right? So that works for how this works. But as I was saying, that train scene, there is no overrail train in Manhattan. So they went to Chicago and filmed a lot of the clean plates in Chicago, and a lot of the footage you see is just Chicago instead of Manhattan. When they're fighting on the train, all of that is CG. The arms of the octopus in that are CG, but they've been weighted with like, so it looks more gravitationally like inclined and stuff. But like you can tell when he's like catching the people after he throws them that they are digi doubles, and it's really obvious. But you won't notice that unless you pause it like I did. So it's like, oh wait, those are very clearly digital doubles, and pause it to look at them. But
I didn't notice.
no, these kind of things don't take away from the movie because there are places where it doesn't matter if they're real or not. Like the guy throws
I think
the guy.
scene inside the train is so perfectly filmed. The
That's
music,
because that is all real. That is all real.
the public stick up for him, and again say like, if you want to get to him, you got to go through us. It shows how much they love Spider-Man, even though Jonah's putting all this stuff in the paper, how he's a menace and stuff. They know that he's a good person, and they all stick up for him. And when they put their arms to catch him, you know, that guy there, who looks like George, when he puts his arms out, and they all put their arm out, it's like 10 arms catching Spider-Man. It's like they've got his back now. They want to do something for him.
Yeah.
Because he's been saving them for so long. And then you get the sense that, or I guess he gets the sense in the movie that what he's doing is actually making a difference, and it's helping people, and the city actually cares about him being Spider-Man, cares about what he's doing. And then they give him his mask back, and they say they're not going to tell anyone, because that's always the thing that every superhero is always conscious of, is their identity. I know Iron Man flipped down on its head because he was like, "Oh, I am Iron Man."
Yeah, but that worked in that scenario
every
because he
superhero
was
doesn't
already
want
just like.
people to find out who they are.
The thing was, Iron Man is, like Tony Stark himself, is a huge person in that universe, right? So it doesn't matter if he'd be like, "Oh yes, I am Iron Man." Like they're just two mergings of like the same person, right?
The worst thing that Tony Stark did is when he revealed his address.
Yeah, that was
He
stupid.
just doxed himself.
Man doxed himself.
But yeah, they all say, and one of them goes, "Oh, he's old enough to be my son,"
Yeah, he's just a kid.
and then he's just a kid, and they all
Rip Uncle Ben, he sacrificed.
you know, they all help him out. And then the kid comes along and gives him his mask back.
Yeah, oh, that's cute.
But like, you know, that almost brings a tear to your eye. Like that is the perfect scene.
Yeah, it is.
And again, it's like it's something you don't normally see in superhero movies, because instead of the superhero saving everyone, he has saved them, but they're kind of like helping him at the same time. So the public.
Well, I mean,
so
it
like
flips it. If we're talking about
dynamic,
right? So let's talk about that in terms of the Avengers and the entire nation that they dropped because of Ultron. And like because of that, that is how Black Panther then becomes Black Panther, right? Because the explosion of the thing after, like they're at a court case and it explodes, and King, what's his face, like dies and gives him the ring to become Black Panther. Like it's the opposite, because like even though like a lot of the times in like the Avengers they've made the problem, so Ultron was made by Iron Man.
The public doesn't
particularly
like
love
him,
them.
but the public
No.
in this Spider-Man, you know, they don't really care about him.
Yeah.
Imagine 20 hours about Spider-Man. The good thing is this content. I don't know how I said content then. Content is content, mate. Well, this content actually fits in really well with my Spider-Man
Game.
playthrough.
Yep. Miles Morales.
Next week we'll be watching Tomb Raider, the original.
Bro, I love that film is bad but good. You know, like Angelina Jolie as an action hero is so
I
funny.
haven't watched it for so long. It's about time I did, so I'm definitely down to do a Tomb Raider podcast.
Straight after our Indiana Jones one, and then we go to the Nathan Drake when it comes out.
Weird is the channel becoming, man? If you flick through these Shedcast episodes, we got like old school Indiana
game, movie,
games from like the last 200 years, and then we flip to a Spider-Man podcast.
Yeah, we don't have any sort of form of knowledge.
I think that's what makes it work though, because sometimes things are too planned.
Yeah.
And too like structured. And with me and you, it's kind of like some things are, and some things are just like, oh, why don't we do a Spider-Man podcast? That sounds like a good idea. 3 days later.
Yeah, I know. It does feel that way. So like after the train, that is like.
You don't give a crap when you hold it. You don't give a crap when you hold the train.
Yeah, because you haven't got a pose. You didn't have any with your mouth open. Like,
It's also the fact that George is really clipping the wrong images. You don't have any with your mouth open.
You don't. There's no picture of you screaming.
What a shame George couldn't find any pictures with my mouth open. I know exactly what would happen with that picture in Photoshop.
What do you mean you can't eat the entire McDonald's menu in one bite?
Someone would be editing this monster into something else.
Yes, they would. So it's just like after the train. After the train, that is when Harry learns. That's when Harry learns that Peter was Spider-Man the entire time.
We're doing the scene.
Yeah, but you're taking literally fucking years.
I'm not taking that long.
We're near the end now. It's fine. We can speed through them.
So next, kidnapping Spider-Man. We see Pete and MJ in a restaurant, and Doc Ock comes in, throws a car at him. Why does he throw the car? He almost kills Peter Parker, the person he's supposed to be kidnapping.
Because it's not him in control, right? Because he's not in control. It's the robots in his head.
Thing to do. If he kills Mary Jane, he's got nothing to battle with to get Spider-Man, has he?
No, but Spider-Man doesn't know. He's specifically appealing to Peter Parker. And to him, Peter Parker's weakness was Mary Jane. Always will be.
He says, give me Spider-Man or I'm going to kill Mary Jane.
Yeah.
It's weird that they haven't
Did I
really
just say
done...
Sarah Jane? I meant Mary Jane. Sarah Jane's a very different TV show.
That would have been pretty good, though.
Yeah. Bring me Spider-Man or I'll kill the Doctor's companion, Sarah Jane.
Bring me Spider-Man. And the Doctor turns up in the TARDIS. And Doc Ock is just standing above the TARDIS control panel with like 10 arms. We kidnap Spider-Man after that. After he throws a car at Peter
Spider-Man,
Parker, almost killing him. You know, throws it like directly at their faces.
I know, if it hadn't been for Spidey senses, he would have died.
It's Spidey tingle.
He's got no issues with his tingles. He might have problems with his webs, but no tingles. His mate, and then his friend.
Yeah, and then he takes him to Harry, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
To kidnap Spider-Man, all crumpled up with like barbed wire or whatever.
Which comes out of nowhere.
And then Harry realizes that he's Spider-Man.
And then he has like a sort of split personality disorder where he then like throws a knife at a mirror because he can hear William Dafoe.
Yeah, but first he talks to Harry and he's like, "Oh, they got MJ," because Harry kind of likes MJ as well. I think everyone in this franchise just wants to
bang MJ. Well, she's like supposed to be like this superstar, right? She's in a Broadway show or whatever. She's famous.
I think she was like one of the hottest females in like the 2000s or something. To be honest, wasn't she in like Titanic or something? Or was that somebody else?
Somebody else. That's Kate Winslet, you absolute idiot.
Yeah, but Kirsten Dunst, like, you know, bit hard.
Abby, your man's cheating on you with a picture of Kirsten Dunst.
Or Kirsten Dunst. George, how can you not think Kirsten Dunst is hot?
She looked really weird at the start. Did you not notice that? Like, her head was a little bit too short. Like, it looked like the aspect ratio was off. She didn't quite look human.
It's probably a body double.
Yeah, that's right. Digi
sneeze.
double for the sitting in their house on a birthday scene. You know, those are very dangerous. You need to use stunt doubles for that.
In between that, I think I've got. He's jumping across buildings and he talks to the child, helping our mate packing away.
That was
And he
ages
talks about being
before.
a fan of Spider-Man. But I think this is completely in the wrong order because I think
It is. That was before he goes back to being Spider-Man.
We'll throw that in anyway. We'll throw it in. It looks like we're just rewriting the script, but adding random crap in here. Even though it is what happens in the film.
Yeah, but the order's wrong. You've completely got the order wrong.
No, George, because now I'm on to the finale. So, yeah. And then we can go into special effects and...
Well, I've already blown all my special effects load, man. I've already spunked that load onto the...
We can go into it in more detail, George.
Alright, fine.
Otherwise, what I've really done is I've just...
Talked about the bloody film.
The plot.
Without any breakdown. Did you chatting pure shit for hours?
All I've done is discuss the plot so far, so... Which anyone who's already watched...
I'm having a meltdown! This man is dumb! This man's the kind of man that would attach 4 goddamn octopus arms to his back for no fucking reason. That's this man right here.
I've been coming to Boston to kidnap you, mate.
You must have a pissing car at me.
Yeah, build a giant ball in your back garden.
This orbits the sun!
A snowball. So the finale...
Alright, but you're sinking yourself into the pissing river.
I can't swim towards that one very well.
I'm not dying a monster. God damn.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. We don't really see him do any of that, do we? Like, he doesn't gasp for a breath or anything underwater. He just slowly sinks.
He just sinks.
Unless he's supposedly supposed to be already dead at that point. But
nah, they wouldn't let him do like actual that entire scene is CG because it was too complicated.
Why are these octopus like so smart, but they can't bloody swim and they're not waterproof?
they're magnetic proof. They're well against the heat, but a bit of water. Oh, we're buggered now.
No, octopuses live in water. What the frick? Why can't he just swim up to the top?
Because that would be plot breaking. That would make too much sense. Man's got to drown with his orb.
Well, there's no orb on top of him when he's drowning. It's underneath him.
Yeah, but it's because they're so heavy, right? Because they're heavy, they're like pulling him down.
Oh yeah, he's made of metal. It pulls metal in. That makes sense.
No, they're not. They're specifically made to not be magnetic, right? He says it at the start.
Oh, okay.
Heat-proof and non-magnetic.
So
well, yeah, but I think they're not waterproof because man was never expecting to be thrown into a fucking river.
Yeah. It was his idea to put it in the river, though.
Yes. It's the only way to stop it.
No. He could have just used his 4 arms and just whacked him.
Give it a whacking.
And that will work. But still.
Playing basketball with a big orb.
What should have happened? This Spider-Man should have webbed his 4 legs, yeah. He could have grabbed the ball with the legs. Yeah, he should have grabbed the ball with the legs. Spider-Man swings up,
does a dunk. It dunks on the river. I'm so mad. In this entire film, they did not show any of him taking it down like an AT-AT, bro. All he had to do was web the legs. He could have had him wrapped up in the webs. Easy, man. Easy.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Like how they take down Scott Lang is by just wrapping his legs.
Yeah. The thing is, though, those metal arms are supposed to be very strong. But, I mean, the webs can stop a train. Like
yeah, exactly. That's just another plot hole.
They can't stop a 4-arm man. Legs.
God damn it.
George, I don't like that we've just broke the film, man.
I mean, honestly, the film was broken to begin with. If the entire plot revolved around a man sticking arms to himself, we got issues here. This man never heard of robotics. Just stick him on a goddamn metal
gave
platform.
Imagine if he gave himself an extra something else.
They call me Octo Dick. They call me Octodong. 8 dongs, baby.
What they should have done is gone into what his dream was and what his life purpose was,
They never mention
and
it.
his research.
They just say.
They just say, "Oh,
Did they even
he
like?
does this."
Even at the start of the film, they just throw Peter in like, "Oh, you're a hero," and like you don't learn that at any point in any of the other ones.
They don't discuss what science he's into and why he's creating this giant ball of trinium, like what it's supposed to do.
Sustainable energy. Oh, okay. Build a nuclear reactor in the middle of a fucking city. That also blew my mind. Even they
He's
don't.
supposed to be dead, like when they're cutting off his arms as well.
He's knocked
Trying to cut
out.
off his arms,
He's
aren't
knocked out,
they?
and the arms take over.
Arms come to life
And that's like that's such a like spooky scene. Like imagine that as a kid. That is where Sam Raimi's like horror is coming in. Like
when I think about that, I always see my sticker book because that's the really cool looking stickers. On the sticker book, they just use the scenes and do them in like
yeah.
So yeah, he gives a speech about being brilliant but lazy, and he asks Doc Ock for help, and then Doc Ock risks his life to save the day.
Then Doc Ock throws the orb into the river.
You don't feel.
Doc Ock dunks the ball.
He kind of redeems himself, doesn't he? Because he's sacrificed his life, and he's realised what's happening. He's realised.
Well, the thing is, the entire time he's never been in control of his own body, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly. That's why I say it's such a realistic villain.
Yeah.
Because he's not in control. The arms are in control.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy, but he's attached some metal arms to himself, and he can't control himself anymore.
Can't control himself, mate. He's just whapping his arms about like nobody's business. Yeah, well, I'm never looking at this film the same way again. Like halfway through the film, I was like, "Oh wait, why did he even bother attach arms to himself in the first place?" The pervert. He just wanted some hentai stuff going on. That's all.
He'd have to add some grooves in the arms.
He just got fleshlights on the end of his claws.
You weren't supposed to be about intelligence to be used as a good for mankind.
So why have you attached these dildos to your arms, Doc Ock? Doc Cock. There we go. That's the porn parody sorted. We're rolling in the money. We're rolling in the money. We own the rights. We said it first.
Why have we gone down this wormhole? And why is there a giant picture of me in the chat? Why is Caleb going robot picture? Oh, you broke me, George.
But honestly, why is there not a porn parody called Dr. Coctopus?
I'm just about to finish the pot for the movie, and you've completely ruined the whole podcast, man. Alright, I'm gonna finish. Let's get serious again. Oh,
man.
No more talking about Dr. Coctopus, man.
We own the rights to that, though. If any porn producers want to come through and give us the royalties. Oh, goddamn.
Just compose ourselves, man. I love how realistic these Spider-Man movies are. I mean, I'm reading this in third person. Even though I wrote to myself. Oh.
We've hit the threshold.
You can in the final scenes, it really takes some beatings.
He takes a beating by Doc Coctopus.
Oh, God, this is my favourite movie of all time. Favourite childhood movie. You're bloody ruining it, man.
Am I ruining it or making it better?
I'm going to block you after this podcast.
Oh, goddamn. If someone wants to clip Doc Coctopus and put that on TikTok, we'll take 50% of the proceeds. Oh, I've got a headache. I'm laughing so hard.
I was not supposed to laugh when I said Spider-Man really takes some beatings. What I mean is, Doc. I can't say his name properly again. Really,
Mr. Octopus. Mr. Octopus.
Doc Ock really throws him around. He gets the crap beat out of him basically in all these films. Stop laughing, George. Let me finish.
I can't help it. Go.
Spider-Man takes some beatings, but still manages to save the day. And then I put, is Doc really dead?
Is Doc really evil? All of these things? The answer to is no, probably.
No, I don't think he is.
No,
it's just the arms, just the octopuses. Mm-hmm. Those arms are up to some dodgy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Sam Raimi's coming back to direct Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I'm excited. I quite like Sam Raimi as a director.
Kirsten Dunst. Yeah, I like him as a director. The funny thing is, George, before the podcast, you said you hated him as a director.
No, I don't hate him as a director. I don't like Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 is the worst film I've ever seen in my entire existence.
Yeah, but nobody likes Spider-Man 3, George.
I like him as a horror.
Get back onto the stream.
I like him as a horror director.
But yeah, he's directing Doctor Strange 2. And then I think they might be bringing Tobey Maguire into that movie. And then, we should see Tobey Maguire also in Spider-Man 3. And Dr. Octopus. Doc Ock. Is supposed to be coming back. So, I reckon that he's not really dead in that scene. I think that's where they're going to pull Doc Ock from when he's in the water.
Either that would be a multiverse thing.
A cracking time or a wormhole. Yeah, either that or he's going to come from another universe. So I think there's going to be a wormhole that's going to suck him in. Mm-hmm. And then he's going to land.
Dr. Cock's going to get sucked into a hole.
Or what it could be is another version of that scene where Dr. Octopus actually succeeds and the Trinium pulls everything in and that breaks the multiverse.
Maybe, because it is supposed to
be that's why there's
I don't know why they made it into a black hole thing when it's clearly a sun.
They're saying Wanda's doing it, but it could be anyone that causes this. Maybe he does that, and then he falls into another realm or another factor in the multiverse and meets up with the other villains like Electro, and then they find a way to get to, Tom Holland's universe.
I just think it's going to be really interesting how they do put it all together. Because it's such a big...
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting how they bring these villains in, because, he is supposed to be dead. And at what point are these Spider-Man going to meet? How long are going to be in the film for?
If they do not do the pointing their fingers at each other meme, what is the fucking point, honestly? If they haven't done this specifically for that meme, if that is not the reason they are making this movie, then I don't want any part of it.
I don't think that's the reason they're making the movie.
Well, I don't want to watch it now. They should only make that movie for the memes.
Let me just get me over 65 pages of information which I've printed off.
Right, I'm going to end the stream.
Right. Shut up, George. I'll let you do some talking before I get into them.
CGI. Smiley face.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about Kirsten Dunst. We did mention her earlier.
So, this is one of the most flawless executions of CGI in the early 2000s I've seen. The only one that I can think of that is similar is The Matrix Reloaded, which was the year before, where they have full head replacements of Agent Smith. That is the only thing they did.
This is basically all I bring George in for, is to talk about the CGI things, and then I just go over the plot.
Yeah, so the train scene is a bunch of...
I do not know how we managed to get to Dr. Octopus in this podcast, but that just shows, me and George just go on these random tangents, and it just...
It was your fault for saying he changed another part of his body, man. It's all you. It's all on you. I just have the brains to think through the facts.
I don't think I said. I don't think I put it like that, George. I was just reading through the plot.
No, No. What happened was you saying, "What if he added?"
You should definitely make it. should definitely make a cock. I was going to say comic book, and I want to
Comic book.
A cock book.
It's a cock up. It's like a pop-up book.
You make a comic book called Dr. Octopus.
It's definitely been done, man. No one's missed that joke before.
Oh, and he's searching up George.
Oh, what, in private browsing? Private browsing, sergeant browsing, private browsing.
I'll get back to the CGI, George. I'm just saying, I don't know how we managed to get to these random things, man. The last podcast, we talked about gaming for like 4 hours and then talked about depression for the other half of the stream.
It gets to a point where the energy, like, runs weird.
Yeah. It's like, you know, when you're half asleep and you get that feeling about being drunk.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like when you get through a 2-hour podcast and you're like quite lethargic and then you just start spouting random shit.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. So yeah, it's a lot of either digi-doubles for the train scene, whenever people would really be in danger, or
I realise that a lot of the time the stuff I say doesn't sound that critical either because I'm reading through 200 pages of content.
But like the digi-doubles are really good for the era, right? Like it's daylight, you can't hide it in the shadows. Like CGI in Jurassic Park, they covered it by rain because they didn't have the technology to like make it look good. So the rain was a way to hide their mistakes. But they did it in full daylight. They like fully pushed like this. Oh, we're at a stage now where we can do like digital replacements and stuff. And you see that because they've done like scans of the actors' faces for the scene, specifically in the water, because it's a complete CGI like scene. Like all of the underwater stuff is CG. It's
says one time he ran into his wall because he was tired and made a hole.
Dr. Coctopus.
Glorious.
Glorious hole.
Why does Caleb have to be the only one watching? Stuff that Caleb says. He's not helping us be professional podcasters, man. He's spouting random crap in the chat. We've already said some random stuff. We don't need you helping us out, Caleb. Making it worse.
So what I wrote, these are my thoughts and my takeaways from this film.
Hang on, George. Hang on one second. Echo! Bedroom light on. I can't read my bloody script, man.
My thoughts and takeaways from this are that for an early 2000 film, like, the CGI is really advanced. And you can't tell that there is any unless you pause it, really. I didn't notice any defects apart from the train passengers when they caught them in the web. And when he interacts with MJ when he catches her. No, the year before this it was The Matrix Reloaded. So I think that's where they got the idea for like the scans and stuff to get like limb replacements.
It's got a couple more pages.
How about I go jump off a cliff? So the train scene in particular was one they started on immediately because they knew that they wouldn't have time to do it otherwise. The entire scene is clips from Chicago, and they had a camera attached to some trains to get like the feel of it. And a lot of the clean plates that you see in the window, like as footage is going past, is Chicago rather than Manhattan. The train was.
I was just thinking.
They built a train set on like a rocker.
What you're saying, but I feel like our podcast is like a parody of movie podcasts.
Oh yeah,
because they have a really like insightful, critical stuff, and the best that we come up with is Dr. Octopus. Carry on, George. So we're at the train.
Well, yeah, the entire train is CG. Like a lot of it. Like they have a set. They built a set. And it's on rockers, but it's on a blue screen, so all the plates are comped in afterwards.
Are you telling me that they didn't put Tobey Maguire in front of a train?
They did.
100 miles an hour, George?
They did put him in front of a train, but the train was a set on a rocker, and he was on like just sat in front of it, going like that for a while.
So what did they do? Shrink him down then?
No. There was a full size train set. They took the train and they just like decommissioned train and like put it on a soundstage on a rocker, and then they put like background from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's the train.
You know how we was talking about earlier, how Alfred Molina and Doc Ock is like a really good villain, and he's got a lot of depth to him. Well, Alfred Molina, when he first sat down with Sam Raimi, he wasn't sure if he actually was a serious contender for the part, as he hadn't really done anything like superhero movies before. He hadn't done anything like
He'd done Indiana Jones.
And although it was interesting, what?
He was in Indiana Jones, I think.
Did
he? Mm-hmm.
Was he?
Yeah, he plays. Carry on talking. I'll double check that what I've said is right, because I don't want to be sprouting lies. But I think he was in Indiana Jones Crusade.
We just start making stuff up for the podcast. Oh, you know, Tom McGuire was in that film. Yeah, man, he was in Titanic.
He was in Return of the Dr. Cocktobus.
That was Spider-Man 4.
That was why it was cancelled.
Right, so he claims that he did have some reservations about the role.
He was in Raiders.
He was worried that the character wouldn't have any depth and would be a mindless villain, which, you know, Sam Raimi has done his best to make sure that isn't the case, even though he kind of is a mindless villain because he's not got a mind of his own. He's being controlled by octopus arms.
Yeah.
But, like, as a villain, he makes sense because, you know, as we say, he's being controlled by his mechanical arms.
So he's in Crusade.
And also the fact that at the end... Is he?
Raiders, sorry, he's in Raiders.
So he's not the guy who helps Indy throughout the whole film, is he?
No, that's Griff Rhys-Jones, I think. Bad dates.
Well, yeah, and you can see at the end of the film as well, we get to see like the character's real personality, so that's what makes him more interesting of a character. Most villains only have one
trait.
You know, they only have one state of mind, only one personality trait.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a rule. You know, rule everything. Just be bad. Do not keep putting Dr. Octopus in the chat. Well, I'm trying to be serious, man.
You've
ruined this whole podcast.
I'm all out of info. I'm good now.
Ruined this whole podcast, right? You've done no research, Judd. All you've done is one research on senior in the train and said Dr. Octopus and fucked the whole thing up. Thanks a lot, Judd.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Somebody was drawn to the character due to his research. He found that every incarnation of Doc Ock had a weird and intelligent sense of humour. However, he wasn't sure how the character would be portrayed. It took until he began shooting to see that Sam Raimi really did care about the man behind the villain. This allowed Alfred to explore Otto Octavius in depth. I think he's a brilliant actor.
Yeah, he is. He's in a lot.
I've not seen him in much, though.
I really need a
Maybe
piss. Can we hurry this up?
Like 60 pages.
That's why I'm rocking, man. I'll be back.
Now. We could be here for a while. Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever the spider can. Well, I'm shattered, so how can I mess stuff up? Hey, Wolf. Guys, how many likes we on? 10, 5, 0. Probably 0. I swear, the people who don't tune into these streams, they do be missing some real gems. Hey, Dubsy. I know it was, Caleb. Caught me off guard, man. You can't be doing that. I prefer the other one, though, of me being, like, catching the train. I don't like the zoomed-in one. Stuff again. Ghost, you missed some stuff, man. You missed some gems. You've been missing some real gems, Ghost.
Hello.
George just had to go and take a quick octopus. But he's back now.
I swear, if we don't...
You know how bad your graphics are, George.
No, that's because I've got a... The reason why it looks like that is because I've got it, like... I've got
It looks like your video's being filmed on a potato.
That's what I've done.
1080p.
If you were to look at my screen,
Oh,
it's got it... Well, yeah, no, because I've got it running... there's... I've turned the opacity down so I can see that the TV line's behind it, so it looks like we've been filmed.
I got a lot to talk about here. One of my all-time favourite movies.
Go on, then.
You got to admit, George, it has been fun. And 2 weeks ago, that podcast went on for ages.
If we haven't ended up clipping Dr. Octopus and making that like a highlight of this, what are we doing with our lives?
Yeah, I just hope that, if that goes viral, George.
I'm gonna see if I can find the timestamp later on and just clip it.
Oh, this one might interest you.
Mhm.
It's about the filming of it. They struggled to film Spidey's logo.
Why?
So the insignia on his chest, they struggled to film it, apparently. It may surprise some readers that Sam Raimi had a hard time shooting the insignia on the front of Spider-Man's suit. This is because he didn't want his shot to cut the insignia in half. He wanted to avoid breaking the graphic on the screen as much as possible. This meant that the costume designers had to place the Spider insignia at just the right height on Tobey Maguire's chest. So it is quite high, isn't it, compared to the other logos?
It's like near his nipples. It's like nipples, like dead chest.
Oh, God. I hope this isn't getting into another one of these cockpus moments, mate. Bringing the nipples into it now. Raimi also had to use a wide-angle lens in order to capture all of his upper torso in medium shots without making him appear too small in the frame. Though Raimi ran into a similar problem on the first film, the costume was redesigned to appear sleeker and more vibrant in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, you were saying that the costume's better.
Didn't he do Freddy Krueger? Something to that level, I'm sure he did. I think he might have done Freddy Krueger. You might have to double check he did, but I think he did. I know he's done some big movies. I definitely think Spider-Man 3 really tarnished his career.
Yeah, it really did.
Did you know? This is the did you know part of the podcast.
Oh, did you know?
Did you know that Doc Ock was supposed to be in the first movie?
Was it really?
When I say did you know, George, you're supposed to say yes or no.
Was he really? Give me more info.
Yeah, so creating a movie villain is not an easy task. Luckily, Spider-Man has an entire rogues gallery of full interest in evildoers. This undoubtedly made the scripting process easier for Spider-Man 2. However, the film's producer, Lara Ziskin, says that Doc Ock was actually considered for the original Spider-Man before the first film was shot.
So Sam Raimi
began designing
Evil Dead. It's his most famous.
See, that is a big franchise.
Evil Dead.
I've not watched any of those. I know it's a very likable franchise and people love that.
Yeah, there's even a Netflix adaptation.
So Doc Ock was actually supposed to have teamed up with the Green Goblin to take on Spider-Man. Do you think that would have worked? Or do you think it would have ended up like Spider-Man 3?
Would have ended up with Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, because I think Doc Ock and Green Goblin are both
really interesting characters that you can't squeeze in.
Yeah, you don't need to put them together unless it is for a Sinister Six type thing.
Yeah, but they should already have a backstory in a different film. Otherwise, there's too much.
You got to build it up like the Avengers. You can't just chuck them in. That's where they went wrong. However, Sam Raimi later decided against it since the movie already had too many moving parts.
Yeah.
The addition of Doc Ock's origin would have made the film lose its focus since the filmmakers liked the character so much and work had already been done. He was used for Spider-Man 2. Did you know?
He's a producer in 62 films.
Wow.
Including Don't Breathe, Evil... hang on, a lot of these are
TV shows. Evil
Wow,
Dead.
think about it, though, George.
The Grudge. He produced The
Like,
Grudge.
How many movies can one person make a year? 62 films. Most producers only make like one movie a year these days. 62.
He did.
Jeez.
He did Ash vs Evil Dead, The Grudge, Don't Breathe, Poltergeist, Spartacus TV series,
Doctor
Evil
Strange 2
Dead.
is gonna be so good. I can't wait. There was another director for it, wasn't there? But I don't think Marvel liked his vision for the film, so they picked Sam Raimi.
If it wasn't Taika Waititi, I don't want to know anything about it. He's my favorite director.
Not sure who it was. So one of the biggest conflicts with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy is between Harry Osborn and Peter Parker. The two grew up as best friends, but their relationship changed forever when Harry's father met his end. After the events of the first film, where the Green Goblin is taken out by the glider, Harry built up an unbridled rage for Spider-Man. This anger continued into the second film, but was supposed to be portrayed in a different way. The entire plot line was taken out because of the script. So originally, Harry put out a hit on Spider-Man's head. Apparently.
Makes sense.
So I put a bounty on him. The filmmakers chose to remove it because they found exploring the relationship dynamic between Harry and Peter more interesting, particularly because Harry believed that Peter knew how to contact Spider-Man. Although Tobey Maguire said that a recent that's a different fact.
No idea.
Doesn't he put a hit on him though? Because he gets Doc Ock to capture him anyway.
Not in the same way as they originally intended. I think by putting a hit on, he probably means he tried to actually get him assassinated by multiple people rather than just Doc Ock in exchange for some trivia.
Wonderland. The return
Dodgy.
of Doc Ock.
Maybe next week.
Episode 9. What is Wonderland? Okay, so the train sequence was storyboarded during the first movie as well.
Yeah, because they needed to. They literally started filming the next week after they finished the first one, so it was like instantaneous.
Before Sam Raimi had a script for his second Spider-Man film, he knew many of the set pieces he wanted to see. In fact, the first film wasn't even complete when he had the storyboards made. Some of these storyboards were even constructed digitally. That shows how good of a director he is. Like, he really thinks about his films in advance.
Not only that,
He's making
almost
these-
every scene was painted. They literally like they full on like
His attention to detail is brilliant.
compared to Tarantino or not Tarantino. Well,
To
actually
be
maybe
fair as well,
Tarantino.
in the third film, I don't think he wanted that many characters. It was literally the investors and other people connected to the film that pushed for it.
Yeah, well, I
He
think
didn't want that because he's always focused on character building.
Like, do you know, like, who is it? George Lucas and Tarantino, they don't storyboard. They do, like, 2 pictures. And that is their storyboard. Whereas with Raimi and a lot of other people, they just straight storyboard, like, the entire
I think
film up.
when a lot of people think about directors, they just think they get on set, all the work's done for them, and they start piecing.
Sometimes
the
it
pieces
is.
together.
Sometimes it is.
Start that.
Like,
but I think it's
George
directors
Lucas
like
is-
Sam Raimi that take
yeah.
time to,
Yeah.
you know, dig into it and really, you know, do the work.
Yeah.
If you think about it, directing, it is a
It's an
it's
art.
an art
It's
form.
difficult. It's difficult. I've tried it because I went just to a school that was quite like
We
advanced
should-
with media.
We should definitely make a film. You're a really trash.
Dude, you know I would
know, you
love
kid-
to. I would love to do
camera.
physical, like actually, like effects and stuff. But it's so much money to invest when you have literally nothing and a camera that does 720.
I'll just do it on the podcast. It'll just be a trash version. It'll be funny. though.
We actually could though, right? Like, filmmaking
I remember
isn't
when I was a
as,
kid,
as difficult
me and
as
my
it is
friends-
now.
I had a friend that lived over the road. He really liked Doctor Who, and I was into Doctor Who. And we sent a letter to the BBC. We filmed this trash thing where I was running around the neighbourhood, and I think I was a Dalek or something. I was a monster chasing, and then it was like playing the Doctor. They called it Young Doctor Who, and sent a letter to the BBC. And I think we actually heard back from the BBC, but they said, "Oh, it's a brilliant idea. We'd love to think about it in the future, but we have too many things going on."
I like that they like a lot of
a polite
them-
way of saying
the
it.
BBC do reply to a lot of comments like that. Like,
It was a handwritten letter.
Yeah.
They sent back to us.
They care about their audience like a lot.
What do you mean, getting typecast as the villain now, man?
Dude, hang on.
so
We
Doc
could
Ock-
actually make a film. You know that, right? Like, it's not difficult to make a
Well, if
YouTube
we done
film.
the YouTube page, we could actually work on it.
I'm kind of tempted, man. I'm kind of tempted. Kind of tempted.
In the maze. Ain't we like that thing, that box on Fortnite?
That was how like Hammer Horror started out, right? It was just friends making films.
This is an interesting fact you'll like, George.
Yes.
So apparently, Octopus is supposed to be in a love triangle with Mary Jane.
That's some hentai shit right there,
I'll
man.
give you some more context. So apparently, executive producer Avi Arad says that there were many different approaches that were considered for the character of Doc Octopus. He's like 50. She's like 20.
I think that's the point. They were trying to make it so if they had gone with that route, they would have made him younger.
Well, you can do a lot with 4 tentacles, George. I'm not helping myself, man. The first approach was a very standard one. Doc Ock was simply supposed to be a mad scientist who created his wonderful energy system. The filmmakers then developed other ideas. I could just see her laughing, George, after I say an energy system. I can see the cogs working in your head, man.
I'm thinking, man. I'm thinking.
Film,
don't worry.
Ruin this film for me.
Dubsy's not on the mic anymore. He's over there on the desk.
Okay.
No, the PG tipped monkey. The PG tipped monkey.
You didn't bring the monkey to the podcast. You
He's over there. He's there. He's a off camera.
Yeah, this hasn't been a PG podcast either, guys. I apologise for that.
We don't care anymore. I don't care. Not with the podcast.
It's not as if anyone actually watches them. One of these ideas probably would have ended up being somewhat controversial. The thought was to portray Doc Ock as a younger man who had a strong romantic interest in Mary Jane.
Like kind of like King Kong style.
So I was going to portray him as a younger man. So I wouldn't have been 50 dating a 20-year-old, whatever. Well, I don't think he'd have been dating it. Probably just would have kidnapped her. And I don't know.
Yeah, like King Kong style, where takes him to the top of the building.
And that line at the end, though, that is so good, isn't it? I don't want to die a monster.
Mm-hmm. So good. It's really good.
I feel like you're not even in the room anymore. You're just like a celestial planet or something. Like your soul's just gone.
My
out
brain's
your
on
body.
a different plane, man. My brain's in a different existence.
You're in the astral plane. So some of the feelings would be reciprocated, making Spider-Man 2 ultimately about a love triangle between the two of them and Peter Parker. So yeah, I like love triangles.
Love triangles. There you go.
After much deliberation, the idea was scrapped, saving us from what would have been. I thought that said a pretty sausage and
The sausage fest.
The thing is, George, like these facts, I haven't actually read myself, so it's quite interesting for me to read them back. But then I'm reading them back to you, and just going, "Oh, yeah, man, yeah. It's bloody great, mate." I need some people to do the podcast with me that's happy to sit there and listen. See, normally it's you, George. When you speak a lot for the podcast, you just talk about CGI for like 4 hours. I'm just like,
yeah, I love CGI, me.
But you're taking too much drugs. Do you know what my friend said BBC stands for?
Oh yeah, we know what it is. Big black something, but we're not going to say it.
Yeah. The fire and explosions in the burning building scene were real, apparently. Even the fire and explosion scenes were real.
Because nowadays that would all be CGI or fluid effects. fluid simulation is the way that people do, or gas simulation mostly is how.
Because the burning building scene in Spider-Man 2 was designed to be the double the size of the one in the first film.
And that's why in the game, if you don't jump,
it does look really realistic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's something you don't really question.
You've just unlocked a memory there, because that's just took me back to my childhood playing the Spider-Man.
Well, I missed timing the jump and landing on your face.
I've bought all the Spider-Man
with the
games
popped
again.
eyes out. That was my favourite part.
When George gets another PS2, he can play Spider-Man 2. We can race it like the Tomb Raider. The thing is, we're gonna be back on the Dr. Octopus memes. That's the problem. I'm never gonna be able to
Dr.
watch
Octopus
a
is my
Spider-Man
favourite thing we've ever come up with.
I love the shit. At least,
no, Dubsy.
At least someone.
I learned the drums once.
So they physically built the set on their backlot universe instead of using a real life location like that in the first film. This allowed them to have complete control of their environment. This decision to do this added to the believability of the movie. Even the flames are real.
I think some studios have like a burning place in the back of their like studio space, where if you're gonna film a burning scene, they have like fire extinguishers and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know that.
When I think about that, I just think about you. You remember in uni when we always had to be careful with the projectors and stuff because we was always told that story about one university like studio burning up because they left something in front of the projector.
Yeah, that was so dumb, bro. I've never seen anything set fire. Not a projector, they don't get hot enough. That must have been during like the fucking 60s, bro.
No, it did happen. I think it was in like 2016 or something, but
it's not a Blink 182 song, honey.
It would have to be in like certain circumstances. Like I think it was like expanding foam or something. I think it was really close to the projector.
It was a flammable expanding foam, is what they told us it was. Yeah. Whether it was or not, who knows? How are you, honey? Oh my god! I didn't even look at the time. That is that.
It made it far more dangerous for Tobey Maguire, who actually ran out of the burning building. So the explosions were controlled as well. The practical effects geniuses used oxygen canisters that shot air at the fire, making it grow rapidly.
It's really interesting.
So they basically almost killed Tobey Maguire.
I don't think they ever really killed him. It was like just realism. I'm sure he knew what he was getting into. Taff says, "Hey."
Oh, Doc Ock's arms are both real.
I told you.
I told you.
This man doesn't listen.
Nowadays, it seems like big budget filmmakers don't see a need for practical effects because CGI is so readily available. However, some of the most convincing action sequences have been created with a mix of practical and visual effects.
Yeah,
for example, would be mechanical arm fitted into a suit. So Alfred Molina, as well as this stunt double, was fitted with a suit that actually had these arms.
Yeah, and they weighed like twice the weight of him or whatever. I think they were mostly blue screen because they look like Smurfs.
You can actually feel the weight against their body, but apparently that made for a complex fight.
So a lot of them are either they comp
choreography.
Yeah, they comp in a bunch of.
Tobey Maguire was afraid it would be terrible. It's quite common for studios to contractually obligate their stars to do multiple movies right from the get-go because they want to maintain cast consistently throughout their franchise. It's precisely what happened with Tobey Maguire. When he was brought on to play Peter Parker / Spider-Man in Sam Raimi 2002
he said he was constantly obligated to do 3.
On the arrival date of Spider-Man 2 script was approaching, Maguire admitted that he had become very nervous. He wasn't sure if the project was going to be any good or not. He then claimed the first feeling he had once he read it was that of relief. Unfortunately for Maguire and the audience, it's for they experienced the same feeling once the script of Spider-Man 3 rolled around. Some of the scenes didn't make it into the final cut of the film. Among these scenes was a moment where J. Jonah Jameson is running around his office dressed as Spider-Man. Yeah, that's the one in the Spider-Man 2.1.
Yeah, that's deleted scenes in it.
Doc Ock's costume weighed £100. The suit was comprised of multiple parts. Tolby and Curson did most of their stunts. How many stunts did Curson Dunst do?
She got when Doc Ock took her, that was her on a harness.
One stunt. I don't know. The thing is, this is cutting off between 2 pages, but it starts off saying accomplishment when he pulled them off.
Excuse
I
me.
mean, it's not about
Dr.
the-
Octopus is pulling people off. Oh, the hammer pulled you off. The hammer pulled you off.
It was out. Right. The quality of these podcasts, man, is going down.
They were never good. What do you mean? Oh, the hammer pulled you off.
They're so bad, they're good, George.
My name's Korg. I'm made of rock. Perishable rock.
Stunts had the same feelings as Maguire, no matter she dedicated to taking part in as many stunts as she possibly could,
All 4 of them.
even though that she should. Her involvement added to the realism of the film.
Good.
William Dafoe surprised Alfred Molina on set. You know, William Dafoe was George.
Yeah, William Dafoe.
William Dafoe was a brilliant actor as well.
He played the Green Goblin in the first one.
It's like in Spider-Man 3, is there really any decent actors playing the villains? There's not, is there?
No, it's
Compared to William
random
Dafoe.
Sandman, and then
The actors in Spider-Man 3, I've never seen him in anything. The guy who
Dubsy.
played
Dubsy.
Venom, I don't like him.
Dubsy.
Never seen him in another film.
Which Airbender? The TV show or the film? Because I've got very strong
The
opinions
guy who
on the
plays
film.
Sandman.
Mhm.
The guy who plays Sandman, I always think is John Cena. And
It's not, is it?
That's just like the effect is somebody else, but it looks just like John Cena. And then, you know, then you got Harry, which James Franco's a decent actor, but is he enough for that movie? Like, if you got one good villain and then 2 terrible villains, I feel like it kind of sends it in the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so William Dafoe surprised Alfred Molina on set. Secret visitor. The set visit happened while they were filming the scenes where Doc Ock gets his mechanical arms welded to his body. Molina was on set on a break, which allowed Sam Raimi to sneak William Dafoe in. Maybe those guys are like good friends or something then, or...
Caleb, yeah, but the Venom we're talking about is the Venom from Spider-Man 3. We're not talking about
Yeah,
Venom.
I'm talking about the actor. who
We
plays Venom.
love Venom.
I did say
Venom.
earlier in the podcast. I like the Venom in Spider-Man 3. I don't like the actor who plays Venom. I don't think he's supposed to be likable though. I think Eddie Brock's supposed to be an asshole in that film.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the set visit inspired the writers to add in a cameo for William Dafoe's Norman Osborn.
Yes,
This
which
cameo
is when the
scene
window
ended
shatters.
Spider-Man 3. The finger. Yep, leading into the third film. You said that in the middle of the film. Do you remember who's going through the plot points?
No, I
at the
said,
time, man. Come on.
you've caught me.
I know you texting Taff going, this man won't shut up. I know what you like, George.
I am.
But
Yes,
you're
you're
still
right.
talking through the facts of the day, mate. I know exactly what you like, mate.
It's fine. We got a question and answer session with Dubsy after this. God damn it.
And we got to do best to worst Spider-Man.
Bloody hell! It's nearly midnight. God damn it! It's 5 minutes to midnight.
George, come on. I'll let
I've
you
not
not
pissing
before that.
eaten. I need to eat my pizza that I've still got to fucking cook.
So we're talking about Doc Ock's tricky wire work now, this is all
Oh,
your stuff, George.
pissing
This is
hell.
CGI.
Fucking wire work.
And we've done a lot of that during our art career. Remember Merlin's wire work with the trees he made?
yeah. Yeah.
How did you ever think that was a good idea, man? What? Well, it would have been. I mean, if you watch the videos on Facebook of the professionals doing it, they look like these massive, huge, like beautiful sculptures, and they're like these little tiny, like tinfoil trees. Alright, so wire work is generally quite complicated due to logistical and safety reasons. However, once everything is set up, the movement of these wires is usually pretty standard. It's up, down, side to side. This wasn't the case whenever the filmmakers had to make the show. Doc Ock being carried by his GG arms. Oh, it says CGI. Realistically, his giant mechanical arms would move one at a time, jolting his body in strange motions. As they grasped the ground and pulled themselves forward, this precisely what the filmmakers wanted to capture. In order to do this, they not only needed to surprise Alfred Molina in the air, but also maneuver his wire work accordingly. To do this, they created a special rig that was meant to mimic this particular jarring movement. That's like fan fiction, man. It sounds like a page of Dr. Cocktopus. Apparently,
Impeccable
Rosemary
wire
Harris
work, Dr. Cock.
Apparently, Rosemary Harris did her own stunts as well. I was just thinking, who's Rosemary Harris? And that's Aunt
May.
Yeah, apparently she was 70 during this film. She looks a bit older to me. No offense if you're watching, but... I doubt she's watching. Once Harris saw that her elderly stunt double could do it, she was more than game. She managed to convince Raimi that she was capable of flying through the air with Spider-Man herself. When you read it, it just sounds ridiculous, man. It's the way they write these articles. This is like a bloody... it's a company now. Like IGN article or something.
Let's go. Keep it moving. Let's get the energy back.
Their own stunt work. George, the energy's... It's gone some other place, man. It's gone in some weird direction. But it kind of works. I don't know. It's a bit weird, but we're rolling. We're rolling with it. Yeah, George just can't wait to go to bed. George is an old man. He's like 65 in the body of like a 23-year-old. He found it exhilarating. Apparently the first thing she said after doing it for the first time was, "Let's do it again." The way this is rolled, man. She found it... She convinced Sam Raimi that she was capable of flying through the air with Spider-Man herself. She found it exhilarating. Apparently the first thing she said after doing it was, "Let's do it again." Apparently Alfred Molina didn't do his own stunts. I mean, what stunts has he got there? I mean, there's like 4 people. He's basically like 7 people on that, in that film. He gave 2 main reasons why he didn't take part in the stunt work. He didn't have to. First, he said he didn't want to put any stunt person out of work.
That's bullshit. That's so bullshit. I love
it. But it works, though, doesn't it? It's being a nice guy. He's like, oh, you know what, mate? I don't want to put.
Well, I mean, the majority of it was like CG, right? It didn't really matter.
Yeah, mate. I don't want to put stunt people out of work, mate. So.
Let's go. I've still got to eat.
He said, professionals don't take his acting roles, so why should he take jobs that they were trained to do? He said that they pay him the compliment of not putting him out of work. Therefore, he wanted to do the same out for them. Secondly, admitted that he wasn't very good at stunts. They didn't want to hurt himself or others, although those decisions cost production more money. They kept people employed and safe. When you go into more detail, it does make sense.
Yeah.
The hospital scene was a homage to Raimi's horror films.
Yeah, you can tell.
That's interesting.
You can absolutely tell. The way it's shot is completely different.
It says that Bob Mawitzki has a bit like that bloody Mike Wojcinski who sent me that.
Mike Wazowski.
From YouTube. He also shares the same love of suspense and thrillers. This trait came in handy for one of Spider-Man 2's most intense sequences. Although the film constantly blends multiple genres, the hospital scene is
pure horror, yeah.
Downright horror. Is there a hospital scene in Spider-Man 1 as well?
I don't think so.
There's one in Spider-Man 3. That's the one. It was designed to be a homage to Raimi's earlier horror work, namely The Evil Dead and Army of Darkness.
Yeah, because the tentacles come to life.
Yeah, like Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's
In
called
order,
Spider Cam.
in order to track stunt doubles and a computer-generated Spider-Man through the air, a special camera had been rigged to mimic their movements. This camera, affectionately named Spider Cam, is that what you just said, George?
Mm-hmm.
Was only used once in the first film, but the filmmakers found it so effective they brought it in on a much bigger capacity for the sequel.
Yeah, they
But
filmed
that's
a
the
lot of
thing,
stuff in
right? Like,
Chicago with it.
it's so complex to do those web shooting scenes and doing right. That's hard to do, man, because the actors in movement.
Yeah,
I
it would
mean-
be easier to do it on green screen, but I don't think they did.
Yeah, that's it. That's my stuff.
Fucking
Now we can get into
yes.
the ranking of the Spider-Man characters. I'm excited. I'm prepared. I got all the energy, man. I've been up since like 8 a.m. George. I swear you had a nap midday. Like
I haven't
2
fucking
p.m.
eaten. I've got to cook a pizza after this. That's going to take 20 minutes.
Cooked at me to 12. And it's not like being back at uni.
Yeah, I know. It's
Alfie's
terrifying,
back.
isn't
Alfie, you missed it all, man. The good thing is, George, these podcasts, we pretend to be professionals. But really, even when we put a theme in, it still goes in some random direction. It just ends up
Yeah.
being me and you talking.
it? Yeah.
But that's good, because no one else is doing that.
Okay, here is my ranking for Spider-Man. Okay, out of 4 Spider-Men, because I'm inclined, well, there's 3 Spider-Men, but I'm going to include Spider-Verse.
Miles until it becomes part of the live action stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to give an honorable mention because I really like that film. When Miles Morales was like that's so good. So for me, it goes New Kid on the Block, Tobey Maguire, and then Garfield, Tom Holland.
Sorry, George. I thought you was doing like Take That albums or something then, or bloody Backstreet Boys album for me.
Old Tommy Holland. Fuck, his name's gone now. Old Spider-Man, and then
Who's New Kid on the Block, George? Can you just say it in English?
New Kid on the Block is bloody Tom Holland.
Because you said Tom Holland twice. You said Tom Holland for 1 and 2.
No, Tobey Maguire is my second, and then third is Garfield because he doesn't like Mondays.
It's tough for me because like Tobey Maguire is like my Spider-Man, like from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I like all the Spider-Man. I've always been a massive fan. You know, like when you watch films as a kid and they're always like the best film ever. It always like sticks in your head, sticks with you. So it's difficult. But I do think Tom Holland is probably the best Spider-Man because it's what we discussed earlier, with them being an amalgamation, him being an amalgamation of the clumsy Peter Parker, but also he's also cool. Right amount of coolness, the right amount of clumsiness. He's got the sense of humour, which is something they struggle to capture. There's not really much. Peter Parker in this movie is quite
serious.
It's kind of like I used to be. He's really serious about everything. He doesn't really have the sense of humour that Spider-Man should have. Like in the comics, Spider-Man's one of the characters with the most sense of humour. So it's tough, but I'll probably put Tom Holland first, and it probably.
But exactly the same as mine, huh?
Second, but just second would be Tobey Maguire. But then again, if you asked me this like a year ago, before Far From Home, I'd probably put Tobey Maguire first.
Yeah.
That's the tough thing. But I think Andrew Garfield is third, but still he's a very good Spider-Man. And I like that they made Spider-Man cool because I think back then, I think that was important because they'd kind of just ruined it a couple of years before.
Yeah.
By making Spider-Man 3, so they need something to come back with. And the skateboard and everything, like, yeah, it was good, but, you know.
And I think along the
like...
same line, for my Aunt May selection, it'd be old Aunt May, Tom Holland Aunt May, and then Garfield May.
So you think old Aunt May's the best?
Yeah.
I do quite like Andrew Garfield's Aunt May. I think she's around the right age. I think the Aunt May in this one might be too old, but then I think an older Uncle Ben's good.
Yeah.
I think the older Uncle Ben is definitely number one because his quotes are just iconic and he suits that role. You know what I mean? Like he's definitely got the grandfather father figure down. well, Uncle Ben. But yeah, I like the middle Aunt May, so I like Andrew Garfield's Aunt May, and then I'll probably put Tobey Maguire's in second and Tom Holland's third, because I think Tom Holland's is
A bit
really
too
young, but she's meant to be that way. Because at the end of the day,
She's only an aunt. She's not like
she's a love interest, isn't she?
of Happy, yeah.
But that's the thing. Like aunts normally aren't like 80 when you're 20, are they? Really?
Yeah. No.
You think about it, but she's meant to be a love interest for Happy, and also kind of Tony Stark at one point.
Mhm.
Not really, but you know there was chemistry. I think.
Okay, we're gonna go into the question and answer. Basically, Dubsy's asked me a question.
Uncle Ben.
Oh, Uncle Ben's Uncle Ben. He's always on a packet of rice. Right.
You can't do that to me. Uncle Ben, Tobey Maguire's Uncle Ben, and then obviously Andrew Garfield. So it wasn't really an Uncle. There hasn't been an Uncle Ben in.
I don't remember.
Tom
It's been a
Holland
while since
Spider-Man.
I've seen the Tom Holland Spider-Man.
No, there hasn't, because they didn't want to do it again, did they? They didn't want to do the killing Uncle Ben again. It's the same with Batman. They always kill Batman's parents in every film, don't they? How many times have we seen that done? You know what I mean? It's always the same scene as well, just slightly changed.
Yeah, they never really like with Robin. That's the first time I've seen Robin's like explained, like his backstory about his.
What
parents
about
being...
villains?
What about?
So
villains?
if we talk about Spider-Man 1, Amazing Spider-Man 1, and Homecoming, so we've got Green Goblin,
Top
the
two.
Lizard, or
Second. No, Lizard last. Lizard
Three.
last for me.
number 3. What's number 3? The bird guy, Birdman, Batman.
Ah yes, Birdman.
Yeah.
We meet you
No,
again,
he literally-
Birdman.
Literally, he did play Birdman and Batman.
No, it's not Birdman. It's bloody
Vulture, that's it.
Vulture.
Vulture. But he also
Birdman.
plays Birdman and Batman. He's played
Oh.
Birdman, Batman, and the Vulture. Is it me or does this guy love birds?
He loves avian creatures.
It's supposed to come back as Batman, you know. I'm excited. So, which would be your favourite then from those Spider-Man? So you got Green Goblin, Lizard, or the
Green
Vulture?
Goblin second, Lizard last, and then Vulture top. I really like how
I think
technologically
Green
advanced Vulture is.
I think Green Goblin first. I think Vulture second, and I think third would be Lizard. Which, no, that's wrong. Second's Lizard, third's Electro. And the reason I put Electro in third was because the way they did his effects in that movie,
Yeah.
it just looked too blue. It just looked too unrealistic, and it just looked weird, man. I don't know. Have I just put Electro in third?
Probably. Are we done? Can we do question and answers? Dubsy.
I was supposed to go on to Spider-Man 2. Electro was supposed to be saved for that one. Oh well, we're going to question and answers because we're getting on for the 3 hours podcast.
Yes. Dubsy.
It's all down to George. It's all down to George, man. George had so much research today. that
I'm
it's
gonna
needed 3
kill you.
hours.
Dubsy, I did not play any instruments. I was taught the drums, but I've forgotten all that knowledge. And Avatar: The Last Airbender, I really liked the animation by I think it's Nickelodeon, but it might not be. But
Electro's backstory is amazing. Electro's backstory is so typical. It's such a typical. What do you call it, George?
typical villain
Comic
backstory.
book trope.
What was it? I forgot.
A
It was
comic
so
book
boring. I've
trope,
forgotten it.
literally. He drops his paperwork. Nobody picked it up, so then he becomes the villain. Nobody wishes happy birthday.
That's really
Nobody
it.
wishes him
That's so
happy
funny.
birthday. He doesn't get a day off work. He falls in the fish tank and becomes the villain.
Is that where he gets electrocuted by an electric eel?
Yeah, but the reason he becomes the villain is because no one takes any notice of him, and he drops his paperwork in the lift, and the woman doesn't help him pick it up. She's just like, "Fuck you! I'm not helping you pick your paperwork up, mate."
That's so funny. That's so like white beta fucking male shit right there. That's so funny.
And, like he's walking down the street, everyone bumps into him and stuff, and doesn't care about him, so he just becomes the villain.
That's so like cis male. I'd like, oh, I've been bullied. Better
That's
kill
also why
everybody.
Why is it always the bully that becomes the villain? Why do they make bullies out to be? I mean, not the bully. It's always the bully that becomes the villain.
Yeah,
Why can't the bullies?
they're showing like they're snapped.
Why can't the bullies be the villain and the bullied? You know, because the people who are bullied are normally nice people. They don't want to do that to other people. They don't normally turn into a electric menace,
Electric eel.
killing everybody off.
But
But
yeah,
it's weird well, because with Electro, Spider-Man's actually the only one that took notice of him. But then he ends up trying to kill Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What other questions have we got? Get into the questions.
Well, you're
we are
like,
running on
so I
time.
really liked the animation, but the film was fucking awful. Oh my god, the film was so
This last
bad.
Airbinder.
Yeah, the last Airbinder. Yeah, that's right.
Good. What ideas you got for the next one, the next podcast?
Oh yeah, someone give us some ideas.
And how am I about this done? Because it's been like 6 months now since I gave you those images.
It's been a week.
Too busy painting
Been two-
stormtroopers. I'll
been
pay
2
for the
weeks.
badges, George.
I know you'll
Pay
get
for
them.
the badges.
I've actually been doing my jacket more than I've been
Because
doing
I was
my...
gonna reveal them during the giveaway. You know,
Well,
it might get some hype.
listen. The reason that I've been busy is I've been doing this.
Spider-Man wishes happy birthday, no one else did. I seen that the other day.
Yeah, I've done some more to it.
A gorilla lifeline.
Yep, and Watson. So that's what I've been doing instead of badges.
I've been doing a glass painting, but it kind of went wrong, as I said. I've been doing Lilo and Stitch Rabby, but I've had to wipe it all off, and I feel like it's got scratch now, which is really sad. Okay. The Stitch has gone alright, but I've had to get rid of Lilo's colour. Start again.
Yeah, it's you got to pick
Not like
ones
that.
that are like two-tone, right? So especially if you've only got 2 bits of glass, that's cute. Shrek. Oh, we could do a Shrek one. I'm happy to do Shrek.
All we're gonna be saying is donkey, get off my swamp.
Donkey, what happened to
Get my swamp,
you?
donkey. What happened to you, donkey? Are we gonna go back and rewatch Shrek? Oh my god, I used to
No,
love
we're
Shrek.
not watching Shrek. So
You just said we're doing this one.
no, we're not doing Shrek. I'm gonna end here.
You said you'd be happy.
I'm happy to watch it, not do a podcast about it.
Give people 10 minutes, George, to ask some questions. Right?
They've been asking all the way through. I've gone through my questions. Anyone got any questions?
If we do the podcast next, are we gonna do them every week or every 2 weeks? What do you reckon's best?
2 weeks is fine.
I feel like we're struggling to fit them into a week because we like to take more time to prepare because we got so many other videos going on. Like we got the Tomb Raider series going, Fortnite streams going, so maybe every 2 weeks. But then again, I do like making these because we do have some funny moments in a couple of years. We're gonna be laughing our head off at them, so it kind of is. It is nice to do more often when we can. I don't know. To be honest, George, we kind of winged them anyway, so we can surely manage one every week if we wanted to.
Yeah, kind of. We'll do it every
I'm
Monday.
not sure
then.
that. I'm not sure that Thursday is a good day though.
We could do Monday,
I
Tuesday.
think they should be on. Yeah, do it on a Monday because Abby's normally on a weekend. So,
Okay.
you know, if I'm sitting here doing a podcast and Abby will be in the background, just laughing right off. Abby will be there, and I'll just be like, me and you will be talking about Dr. Octopus and weird stuff, man. I love Stitch. Thank you very much.
Right. I'm gonna
I
end.
don't like your logo, Kane. I like the one where I'm Spider-Man catching the train, not the. Why
I'm
is that,
ending
mate?
the
Looks like
stream,
Thomas the
guys.
Tank Engine.
So.
Oh, that's
bye-bye.
Aunt May. I thought that was a really aged up version of George.
See you later, stream.
All right, guys, I'm going to end this now because George is getting off because he's making pizza at 12:15 because he's a freak.
Listen,
But,
some idiot wouldn't let me
we'll be
bloody
back.
leave. All right.
Hopefully, we'll be doing Fortnite tomorrow. You know,